Hello everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Welcome back to the One Man Low Council. Welcome back to episode 155 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, and also welcome to Clown World, because that is exactly where we are currently living, with all of the craziness, with all of the madness going on right now across the country, specifically in the United States of America. I'm sure there's also things going on across the world as well, but most notably here in the States. And last stream, obviously, we tried to avoid it. We tried to be a distraction away from those events. Today, we will be addressing some of those things, specifically the most crazy things that I've been seeing, especially today on Twitter of all places. By the way, hashtag Twitter sucks, because let's be honest, Twitter sucks and is a complete cesspool. But also, of course, with all of the madness going on with the current riots. And I'm not going to say protest, because though there might be some people protesting, there are, in my opinion, many more people, or at the very least the ones that are getting the coverage, again, that is also key to all of this, rioting. And rioting is never okay. Rioting is never a good thing. Destroying businesses of people that are innocent, destroying businesses that, of people that did absolutely nothing wrong. Rioting in general and destruction of property in general is always a bad thing. And so I just want to officially denounce the riots that have been going on, that have been led by members of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And yes, I put both of those groups together because, yes, you might be able to argue, well, there's some members that, of either one of groups or both groups that are trying to do the right thing and are good people. Okay. The problem, though, is that that is not the message that's being sent. And all I'm doing is seeing people representing both of these groups causing chaos, beating people up, destroying property. And so I don't need time, and I don't really want time for a quote-unquote, a nuanced conversation about what's actually going on, because I see exactly what's going on with my own two eyes. And it's ridiculous. And so yes, I am going to put both Antifa and Black Lives Matter into the same group. Not to mention, I have a problem with the basic premise of Black Lives Matter in the first place, because hashtag all lives matter. And if you get triggered by that statement, I'm sorry, but I think you're part of the problem. I mean, I'm sorry. If you're offended by that statement, tell me what is wrong about saying that every single life matters, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, regardless of your orientation, regardless of any other factor that you might define yourself by. Please explain to me how saying that your life matters is controversial. And of course, the instant reaction is, well, it just totally ignores the problems, and it just ignores the overall messaging here. Let us remind ourselves that the crux of the Black Lives Matter movement started and was based heavily on a lie. You ever heard the expression, hands up, don't shoot? That's an expression that was supposedly used by someone that ended up being killed by the police. Turns out when the facts came out that it was justified. Now, I personally, this is Odin speaking here, don't think that killing anyone is justified. This is something that has caused a lot of controversy with people interacting with me on Twitter, because I am, for the most part, a pacifistic person. I think that if there is at all a chance to defend yourself without taking another person's life, you should do every single thing possible to preserve the life of that person, even if they're the one attacking you. That's just me, though, right? That's just me and my own Christian ethics, right? That's just me using the ethics of my Catholic faith, right? So you don't have to agree with that. That's where I'm coming from, though, right? And so getting back to the main point, though, the expression, hands up, don't shoot, was said to have been said by the person in that situation. I want to say his last name was possibly Gardner. I can't remember. But obviously the media blew up with it. Black Lives Matter was really born out of that, or at the very least became very, very large and grew tremendously because of that. It is being used at every single Black Lives Matter protest / riot, and yet it's a lie. It actually never happened. Those words were never spoken by the person. And yet as soon as you bring that up, all of a sudden it becomes, oh, well, you're an istophobe. It's like, no. I looked at the facts of the case. There were people there, eyewitnesses of, guess what? Multiple ethnic backgrounds, who both confirm that those words were never said and that the police's account was accurate. Again, I don't support the ending of that person's life, even though the person was in the wrong. But at the same time, too, let's just not make things up. So yeah, I'm going to be full of hot takes tonight. Some things you might like, some things you may not like. Some of you might be saying, Odin, this is a movie blog. You know, what are you doing? Bringing all this stuff up. Well, if you've been on Twitter today at all, you know that this stuff has reached this boiling point. And I think it's important for us to have these conversations. I think it's important for us to talk about these things. However, before we get any further into that, there is one controversial topic that I think and hope all of us can agree on. And that is that there is someone who goes by the name Working Class Klingon on Twitter who went after me on 2 different tweets questioning why I use the name Odin and basically saying, you can't use it. It offends me. Take it out of your name. And I honestly think this guy is a complete troll. He's obviously fishing for comments. He's obviously fishing for reactions. It's kind of his forte, is what it seems like. But this dude goes after me twice. And I explained to him, look, Odin is a nickname that I was given in high school. And so when I decided to start doing YouTube channels, like, hey, let me go ahead and, actually even before that, when I was on places like Tumblr or Blogspot, right? That was when I was a legit actual movie blog. I know, right? Crazy to think about. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to use that nickname from when I was in high school. And this guy's like, but you're not an actual believer in Odin, so it's offensive. And then one of his key pieces of evidence, one of his key points is that, well, my nickname's Jesus. You wouldn't like it if I had my, my Twitter handle as Jesus. I said, you know what? I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. If that was your nickname and your name looks like Jesus, guess what? I would think that's totally fine. And I would kind of hope that Twitter handle, and I'm sure it's out there, was a comedian and was cracking jokes and saying, hey, look at me. I think that would be freaking hilarious. But unfortunately, this dude is a softie. And again, I don't think he's an actual softie because I honestly think he is a troll that's just trying to fish for comments. And there are still some people, so shout out to Will Gentry, who's still having a conversation with this idiot, and other people too. And they're trying to reason with him. They're trying to explain to him. It's like, trust me, this is a guy that you cannot explain anything to. One person did a great comment saying, hey, my pet cat's name is Odin. What? Is that offensive? And the question was, are you Catholic? No. Well, then it's fine. It's like, okay, sure. Like, again, we can have a conversation about what the name means to you and all these other things, but when you start telling someone, hey, you can't use that name, I say, nay. You can't use that name. I say, au contraire, I can use that name, and I will continue to use that name because guess what? I'm not using it in any form of, any derogatory way at all. If I was like, Odin sucks and is a fake god, you might have a right then, if you're someone that believes in Odin, to say, I find that offensive, right? At that point, I would say, okay, I disagree with you, and I don't really care, but you know what? Fine, it is what it is. But at the very least, then I could have a conversation. But when my name is just Odin's movie blog, and if anything, one could argue it gives praise to it, which is not my intention because you all know I'm a Catholic. It's so, again, trying to reason with this person on Twitter, it is just damn near impossible. But anyway, I hope that you are all doing well tonight. And again, sorry if this was not the kind of stream that you wanted tonight. Again, if you want an escapist stream, tonight is sadly not going to be it. So if you have any comments or questions dealing with this very topic, please leave them in the YouTube chat or the DLive chat. Again, we're live on both platforms right now. If you are on YouTube, please just put Odin question, type Odin question, all one word together, no spaces. It'll highlight orange on my screen, and it'll let me know that you're getting my attention, or at least trying to get my attention. If you don't want to do that, because I do fall behind in the live chat, so I'm usually like 15, 20 minutes behind. So if you don't see me answer your question right away, it's because I'm about 15 minutes away from it. That's just the way things work here on the One Man Low Council, and on other typical nights as well. So if it really is that important to you that you get that question out immediately, you can always donate via Super Chat, via Streamlabs donation, and I will get to it much more quickly. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the chat. Hopefully no comments have been skipped as of yet, but NG1TEAV, thank you very much for that $5 Super Chat, Super Sticker. pumping it up, saying keep going. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is 7:05 in the chat, so the chat has already jumped on me on YouTube, and some comments, the first 5 minutes, may have been skipped. So Tina is in the chat. What is going on, Tina? GMonkey76, Greta, Zenner, what's going on, Greta? Hope you are doing well. And I apologize once again to Tina, because I know that she does not like this nonsense, talking about this nonsense. And anyone that follows me on Twitter, I apologize if your feed has been inundated with my retweets and comments, but today was just that first day where, it's summer for me now, and I didn't have anything crazy to do, so I was like, I'm just going to take a day just to be able to sit back and do nothing. So, of course, me and a computer and a phone, I'm on Twitter, and I'm reading and watching a lot of things that are really ticking me off. Tina B, what's going on? Says, sometimes people don't give you a choice, but I get where you're coming from. Thank you, Tina. And again, it's all about understanding. It's all about talking things out. Again, you don't have to agree with me on every single thing. There are several people in this chat that vehemently disagree with me on a wide variety of issues. But as long as we can talk about them and have a conversation respectfully, that's the way that we do it. That is the way that we do it. Josh Brumman, what's going on? Jonathan is in the chat as well. HyperDex13, Mirrored, Jeremy, Akansha, Joswell, what's going on? Kevin the Speedster's in the chat as well. Captain Wingster, thank you very much. Nana Reaper says, Odin, it's Michael Brown, and it was untrue. He was shot while trying to take a police officer's gun. Exactly, Nana Reaper. That was the point I was trying to make. So again, the whole hands up, don't shoot. It was actually, he didn't say that. For one, he didn't say that at all. And two, he was trying to take a cop's gun. And there were eyewitnesses of multiple backgrounds, including people that were parts of that very community who confirmed that very fact. And again, we can talk about the birth of, because someone mentioned earlier that the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement was actually at a prior time. But let's just be honest, like that has been one of the main points. They still bring him up to this day. They still bring up Michael Brown. And you can guarantee this, every single Black Lives Matter rally that occurs across this country, guarantee you, they say the phrase, hands up, don't shoot, which never actually happened. So Bruce says, screw the virtue signaling companies, and now anyone who tags or supports Antifa will be noted and counted now that they are a terrorist organization. Yep, exactly right. So be very, very careful what you do on social media now. If you show support towards Antifa, they have been declared officially as a domestic terrorist organization, and that's been made very, very clear if you watch any of the things going on in the media, because there are a lot of peaceful, let me just get the record straight too. There are a lot of peaceful protesters. And if you are protesting peacefully, you're not blocking the street, you're not blocking roads, you're not breaking things, you're not, again, you're not committing crimes, right? I fully support your right to freedom of speech. I disagree with some of the messaging. I disagree with some of the mindsets, but I still support your right for freedom of speech. But if you're blocking roads, if you are, breaking businesses, breaking windows, all that kind of stuff, I have no time for it. I hope that the police find you, and I hope that they arrest you, and I hope that you go to prison for a while. And hopefully, you'll learn something. But again, that gets back to the question, or rather, gets back to the issue. We need to reform our prison systems, because our prison systems are designed more so to hold and basically leave the person exactly as they were before they went in and coming out just the same, or potentially even getting worse. There really is no reform happening in prisons, and we need more of it. We need more of it, because as I said, I believe that a human person, regardless of what they've gone through in life, has a chance, has the capacity to change, which is why I'm very much against things like the death penalty. I'm very much a person where it says, hey, you know what? If you're defending yourself, do everything you can to not take that other person's life. Defend yourself. Absolutely defend yourself. But again, that is where there's probably going to be more disagreement on this chat than in other chats, because some people don't like when I put it in that way. But again, it all comes down to, but I think all life is sacred. Even the lives of those people that are doing horrendous things. But still, justice exists. And because justice exists, it means that if you commit a crime, you have to pay the time. Do the time. You have to pay up. You have to make it up to society. And my mindset is, I don't think the person losing their life makes anything up to society, because all it leads to is another person that's dead. And I don't think that helps anyone. It doesn't bring the person that they killed back to life. It doesn't fix anything. It might make you feel better, but it doesn't actually do anything, right? So if someone's destroying property, they should be arrested, put in jail. I would say probably doing community service, rebuilding the community, because that is how they can make it up to that community. That's just me. What say you? Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, says 2020 sucks. Yes, it does. 2020 has sucked for a long time. That's the other thing, too, right? So all these protests have been happening for days now. And what did the media tell us? What did all the experts, all the doctors say? Oh, yeah, about 5 to 6 days, that's when the things will start up. If there is not a huge influx in COVID cases after all of these protests in the next day or two, then the whole argument for the lockdown goes away, disappears, flies out the window. So if there's any positive thing that we can talk about with these protests, and there's really not a whole lot at this point because there's so many more riots, it seems. At the very least, we'll find out whether or not the lockdown had any impact whatsoever. So that'll be interesting to follow. Saito Neon says, you know anything about the bishop who criticized the president or showing up at St. John's? So he is Archbishop Wilton Gregory. He is a new bishop there. So he took the place of another bishop, Cardinal Wuerl, who used to be the head of that diocese, the archdiocese up in D.C., who, guess what, was basically pressured to step down because he covered for a now Mr. McCarrick, but at time Cardinal McCarrick, who abused children. So that's the same lot that we're talking about here. Now, Wilton Gregory, no real evidence that he has covered up or anything to that effect, but again, they all knew each other. I'm sure that a lot of these higher-ups especially knew things were going on. And so for a person that's a shepherd of the church to be, going there and being political, it's just like, please shut up. That is by definition not helping anybody. By very definition, not helping anybody. Greta Zenner, what's going on, Greta? Says, you don't believe in Odin, therefore you can't use the name as a nickname? That's a dumb argument. Oh, it's a very dumb argument. It's an extremely dumb argument, Greta. Bruce says, you should have told him the fact that he wasn't a real Klingon offends you, so he should have changed it. Oh, and again, as I said before, if he was a logical person, we could have had a logical debate and discussion, but he's not. So what likely would have happened was he would have said, well, Klingons aren't real, but, Odin is, and Norse people, they are real. And it's like that he would try to go down that rabbit hole. And by the way, if anyone watches the channel and you do believe in Odin, I'm not going to attack you, right? I'm willing to have civil discussion. I disagree with you, right? I'm a Catholic, so I believe Catholicism is the one true faith. That's just part of my belief system. But at the same time, too, I'm not going to go in your face and say you're stupid. Unless, of course, you're someone like this who says, you can't even use the name Odin. Really? Glowing Hobbit says, your thoughts on 40% of Chinese cinemas may close permanently due to the virus. Doesn't surprise me. Again, when you force companies, and this is beyond theaters, to shut down for months on end, you're going to lose a lot of those businesses because not all of them got a handout. And even if you did get a handout, if you got just enough to stay afloat, that's not profit. That's not you getting enough to be able to invest in your company and grow your company. And we live in an age now where you have to grow constantly. You can't just stay the same level. I mean, think about industries now versus 50 years ago. Have any of them stayed the same? Or have almost all of them that have been successful and not shut down had to grow and adapt? So yeah, even if you're able to keep a business open for a short-term period, it doesn't fix everything. Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me at all, and it's sad. Despite my thoughts about the government of China, and again, I have very, very, very pointed thoughts about any communist regime, the businesses there and the innocent people that work there that are going to be impacted by this, not good. And by the way, Tina, I saw this comment. I wasn't tagged in it, but this is, I think, very appropriate for tonight's stream. She says, okay, I picked a bad night to give up cocaine, glue sniffing, and heavy drinking of red wine. Yes, shout out to the movie Airplane. Alice McCarthy says, wait, hold the phone. You had a movie blog? Yeah, I had a legit blog where I talked about movies. I had a legit movie blog. Isn't that insane? It's almost as crazy as Gary having owned a comic shop at one point, right? Captain Wingster. Okay, cool, Odin. I'm gonna become Captain Jesus now. Thanks for your approval, boss. Dude, Captain Wingster, please, go ahead, man. Go ahead and be Captain Jesus. I have no problem with that. I think that's kind of funny. Let's see. Forever Sci-Fi says, I'm pretty sure no Viking who ever existed would be offended by you calling yourself Odin. And I made that point to him, too. I was like, look, in 2020, no one that still believes in him would be offended. And if they were, they would be openly mocked by most people, including people that are a part of their belief system, right? And so even if you could argue that if this was, hundreds and hundreds of years ago when people took it much more seriously and there was a lot of pillaging and raping going on across the world, then maybe you could argue that they would be offended by that. But then even then, as you said, the chances of that being the case probably aren't very likely. Probably not. Rosetta Allen. What's going on, Rosetta? She says, Odin having a great anniversary. Hubby is spoiling me. Rosetta Allen. Happy anniversary to you. I believe today is the official anniversary for you and your hubby. So congratulations. Please, chat, send some congratulations, some love, support, some prayers her way. Tina B says, I'm going to pour another glass of wine, so we're good. Cheers. Tina, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Tina has not been on my home feed today. But Stephanie was, and it was funny just to see the conversations going on because, yeah, they could tell that I've been off on tangents today, people. It's been crazy. CWD Trixie says, trying to use reason on Twitter. Are you some kind of madman? I know, right? It definitely seems that way. Who uses reason on Twitter? And when I try to, it's like hitting a brick wall. Like there was another person that I was talking to, and they were basically criticizing the concept of freedom of religion. They were taking the side of the government. I'm like, okay, but I disagree with you. Here's why. But then they start trying to use the aspect of faith, right? And we start having a separate discussion about scripture and how one interprets it. And we got to a point where I'm like, hey, man, we can't go any further on this because I kept saying, but you need to have more context to understand this passage. And it's like, what context? And then he gave me the literal interpretation. It's like, okay, again, that's a literal interpretation. And I grant you that that's what the words say, but you need more context than that. And then I explained, and I can't explain the context through Twitter posts. There's some conversations that you have to have in person, or you have to have in a long form way that you can't just sum up in, 140 to 200 characters, whatever it is now. Like, it comes to a point where you have to be able to expand things out a little bit. And he just kept going and try to use that saying, oh, well, that just proves, that those are the words of someone that can't win an argument. And it's like, okay, I'm done. Right. You obviously don't care about having a discussion, so I'm done with you. But Tui, I spit at you. Hologram Nunchuck says, hail, sir. Hail to you. Deviant Porg, I see you in the chat as well. Glinzer, I see you in the chat as well. Tina says, so he'll see it and give him time to answer it. He always gets behind. I always get behind. This is a very true statement. All right, so the chat has jumped on me. So D-Laugh fam, that means that y'all are coming up. But luckily, it doesn't look like I'm too far behind. But we'll see. I'm at 7:11 in the chat, 7:24 where I am, so I'm about 11, so a little over 10 to 15 minutes behind. About on schedule. All right, D-Laugh fam, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fun conversations over there tonight. Alrighty, so we got Mr. Peabody in the chat, Captain K-Man as well. Captain Phone Nemo is there. Autobots roll out, as Mr. Peabody says. Fantastic. Will Gentry says, so when are you going to change the channel name? I know, right? So Will Gentry, as I mentioned earlier, was in on that conversation. If you're new to the stream, please smash the like button. We got 82 people watching. So someone on Twitter earlier today tried to argue that I can't use the name Odin because it's offensive to people that believe in Odin. Let's just say I had very little patience for that person. And again, as I said, they were very clearly trying to stoke the fire and not actually trying to have a conversation. But Will Gentry jumped in there and has still, I think, even now, still trying to go back and forth with this guy. It's like, nah, dude. I gave up on that a while ago. Captain Dean Heiss says, aloha, Captain Dean Heiss. Hope that everything's going fine. Will Gentry says, did you hear about the NBA announcer who got put on leave because he tweeted all lives matter, every single one? I did not, but that pisses me off. Because as I mentioned earlier, there is literally nothing wrong with any part of the phrase all lives matter. Now, if you're a person who is a racist, who is using that expression as a way to try and fight against equality, then it's not the phrase that's the problem. It's the person. And I would argue that it's the same way with the group Black Lives Matter, right? It's the people that should be held responsible. The problem with certain movements, though, is that at some point you get to the point where it's so blended together that you kind of have to throw the entire thing out, right? That doesn't mean that you throw every single person out, but as far as the label that's established to the movement, it just kind of, again, it's one of those things where you just can't save it. Like there's the great film called Clerks 2. And there's a part in the movie, I'm not going to go into too much details because it deals with a word that is offensive and I will never use and never plan to use unless I'm reading a play or a book that has the word in it, like I did in high school, right? But it was important for historical context, right? And so the whole concept in the movie, though, is that one of the characters is trying to take back a certain expression. So not that word, but an expression that's very similar and seen by many to mean something similar. And so the whole concept of the movie, if you've seen Clerks 2, you know exactly what I'm talking about, is that he's trying to take it back. He's trying to save the expression. But if you know anything about the expression, you know, okay, you can't save it. There's certain things that no matter how hard you try, you just can't save. But yeah, as far as All Lives Matter goes, though, most people use it because they mean it. Because they are trying to say, no, every single life matters. And it does. And if you find that offensive, as I said, I think you're a part of the problem. Tell me how I'm wrong, please. Again, I would love to have a civil conversation about that. Will Gentry says, not only did he not say hands up, don't shoot, both eyewitnesses and ballistic reports showed he was attacking the cop. Yep. But again, we can't believe that. Right? Now, obviously, once all the information came out, because here's the other problem, too, is that the media, you want to know what the biggest enemy in all of this is? The biggest threat to our livelihood is? It's the media, right? I mean, we can go off about Antifa, BLM, and all of the people that are rioting right now. It's the media. The media are the ones that stoke this. They're the ones that show wall to wall, cover to cover, coverage of all the things happening, with all of their political points that they try and throw in to try and stoke the fire even more so. They try and put people against each other because guess what? It means more ratings for them. Do you honestly think that anyone in the media, in the mainstream media, wants this to end? No. Just like they didn't want Corona to end, they don't want this to end because it's, oh my gosh, it's ratings gold for them. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But going back to that case, the Michael Brown case. So the media took that story, spun the narrative that all of the hearsay was the evidence and was fact. People believed it. And then when the actual evidence came out, people were like, either one, saying, oh, well, that's obviously just fake. And they obviously had friends in higher places that were, tinkering with the evidence. That was the mindset. So you had that on one side, or the others where they don't care what the truth is. They're like, well, this is my truth. How often do you hear that expression? Well, that's my truth. No. There is just the truth. There's no my truth, your truth. No, there is the truth. You can either believe the truth or not. But there is only the truth. And the truth of that specific case was that he didn't say, hands up, don't shoot. And yet, vast majority of people at these protests continue to use that lie. They continue to use that expression. They therefore continue to believe in that lie. And the media continues to be complicit in perpetuating that lie. Reminds me a lot of, do you remember the Duke lacrosse kids? Remember how they were alleged to have harassed sexually a woman? Go to court, find out, oh, she actually made the whole thing up. But if you ask, I would say, most people, I would say if you were to poll like 2,000 people that would have been alive during that time, I would say it would probably get pretty close to 50-50 of the people that actually still believe the Duke lacrosse kids were guilty in that case. You want to know why? Because the media took the case, the media nationalized the case, and then boom, people believe the lie. And that's why from the very beginning I've always said, no. Let us not nationalize these stories and instead let the justice system play out. Find out what is true. And I know the argument is, okay, but what if we have a corrupt system that we cannot trust? Okay. Then that local community that was actually directly impacted by it, they're the ones that can protest. They're the ones that can petition. But when you nationalize the issue like this, all of the truth and all the facts, they get so muddied up that you don't even know what the hell's real anymore. And now that we live on the age of Twitter, literally everything gets blended together. We talked about this on the last Friday Night Tights, where there was an image going around of a lion in the streets of what was it? We believed at the time that it was the streets of Detroit or the one of the major cities. Turns out it was actually in India. And it just happens to come out and people just saw it and automatically believed, oh my gosh, now there's lions roaming the street. This is insane. That is the Twitter world we live in now, though, where everything gets mashed together. But it's not just Twitter that's the problem. Again, it's this wall-to-wall national media coverage. Distorting facts, distorting reality. Kip Ellis, thank you very much for the super chat, by the way. He says, what? Odin is not your real name? Gutted. I love that expression, gutted. My wife and I are rewatching older seasons of The Great British Bake Off, which is a fun show to watch. And one of the characters on this season says gutted all the time. I'm just gutted. I'm just gutted. So I love it. So Kip Ellis, thank you so much for that super chat. And no, Odin is not my real name. It is a nickname. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, jumping back into YouTube. Mr. Peabody says, phew, I thought you were going to say my hair was controversial. I would say nay to that. Will Gentry says, that all reminded me of the female teacher in the Middle East who was arrested because her class named a teddy bear Muhammad. They named it that after a child who was sick that day, so wasn't in class. But it was still enough for her to get thrown in jail. Yeah. And you didn't hear about that, did you? No, you didn't. There's been several cases of people of various races that have been impacted by police brutality, that have been impacted by even worse in other countries especially, right? Again, are things bad here? Are there things that need to change here? Yes, absolutely. There's a right way to do it, and we're not doing it right now. We're not going through that right process. But is it as bad as in other parts of the world? Not even close. If you can go to a country right now and you happen to be gay and you can be legally killed just for that alone, I'm sorry. No, we don't have it as bad here. I'm sorry. If you're going to try and tell me that that's as bad or not as bad as what we have here in the United States, go to hell. Like, seriously. Oh, my goodness. Captain Phonemo, why won't Marvel use Laura from Logan as the badass character she is? Because, you know what? At the end of the day, Captain Phonemo, if they do, they're going to waste it. They're going to politicize it, and it's just going to be worse. Mr. P.I. says, yeah, the tanker truck was on the freeway. The last thing you want in the middle of a protest is a tanker truck. And in the video, you can see him braking and steering around people. It was a tanker truck. He couldn't turn around. No, he couldn't. And then there's other videos of truckers that do stop, and guess what? The mob takes them out of their vehicles and beats them to a pulp. So I'm not saying it's okay to run people down. Not saying that. As I said, I don't believe in violence. I don't think it's a good thing. Avoid it at all costs. That's just my own philosophy. But at the same time, too, I can understand the mindset of, wait a minute, I'm a truck driver. I've seen certain people being taken out of their trucks. And you're not supposed to be in the road anyway. Again, I don't think it justifies the action. I think that if you run someone over, you should be prosecuted. But at the same time, I would say that in that court case, I would say, I don't like what you did, but you know what? I can understand. There is a sense of understanding there. It's crazy. It's just, I can't believe that the fact that we're even talking about this and that this is even a reality and that this is even going on and that people actually have to make those decisions is insane. Is insane. Will Gentry says, I'm still surprised to learn my whole family is racist, all because I said you didn't say Black Lives Don't Matter. Quite the shock. Yeah, so Will Gentry was helping me a lot today. He was jumping in these conversations. And someone claimed that because he didn't say a certain phrase, that means that he must hate people. It's so ridiculous. It's so freaking ridiculous, man. Oh, Lord. Will Gentry says, I gave up on it when he couldn't give me a straight answer as to why it was offensive. He can't. As I said before, he's just trolling. Like, he obviously was just trolling, man. Will Gentry then says, if you have time, watch Tim Pool's video from his main channel tonight. He explains how Antifa uses Black Lives Matter as a cover good stuff. Yeah, I really like the work that Tim Pool does. Is he sometimes eccentric? Yeah, no question about it. Is he perfect? Hell no. But I can say this much. I trust him a hell of a lot more than any other media outlet because he shows you the sources. He gives you some context. And it's more than what we're getting from the mainstream media at this point in time. And again, as Will just explained, he's trying to talk about how it's certain members of Antifa that are trying to basically infiltrate Black Lives Matter, right? Now, again, I think at this point, it's just been so muddied together that it's all, in my mind, it's all the same. Obviously, their messages are different, but tactics-wise, in the current situation. Captain Dean High says, as Forrest Gump said, stupid is as stupid does. Yes, Mr. Peabody. Australian media shows raw footage earlier, then edits later for broadcast to make it sound a specific way. Wow. Yeah, that's ridiculous. All right, I caught up over on DLive. Chatting back over to YouTube chat. So again, I'm about 20 minutes behind on YouTube now. So again, if you're leaving a comment right now, I probably will not see it for 20 minutes. There's a chance that YouTube's chat will jump on me, and if it does jump on me, it means that some comments may be skipped. So if you don't want to deal with that at all, you can super chat, donate, and then the message will get to me instantly and will be read much more quickly. Otherwise, you'll have to wait about 20 minutes. Is how it usually works. James Doshier, speaking of which, Doshier? Please let me know in the chat, in the main chat, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But James, thank you very much for that super chat. He says, do you think Twitter is awful right now? It is so bad. James, dude, it is a cesspool. It is terrible. Like, I am honestly thinking, and I'm sure Tina feels the same way, of taking a break on Twitter tomorrow. Like, just going on to post a link to the main video of the day, and then leave it at that. Because tomorrow I might need a detox. All of us at some point need a detox from Twitter because it's just such a cesspool. It really is. But James, thank you so much for that super chat, man. I appreciate it. All right, Rob D at 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven. This person, Rob D says, this person that went after you doesn't even have the right to eat out of a dog bowl on the floor, let alone sit at the table. Damn, Rob D. That's harsh. I wouldn't say that. Damn, dude. Jonathan says, you are the true hero. Jonathan, thank you, man. I'm no hero, though. Trust me, I'm no hero. The people that are the heroes are, one, the good and honest members of our military, of our police force, of our fire, I was going to say fire brigades, fire squads, and like our firefighters. I was like, why am I thinking of all these other words for it? Like our public civil servants. And the other heroes are the ones that are peacefully protesting. Even better, though, the ones that are actually engaging in conversation. There's been some great positive videos. There's the one guy who's been at several protests now over the years. His main thing is free hugs. And he goes up to members of the police force and hugs them. And then he talks to these angry members of these protests that are saying, you're saying the worst things possible towards him. You're an Uncle Tom. You're a betrayer to your race. It's like, how do you say that to someone because they hug a cop? And they engage in dialogue. Right? No one's saying that we need to just all hold hands and just say, there's no problems at all. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. No, it's, hey, let's talk. Right? Hey, let's talk. To me, the most pointed sign would be like, there's corruption. Let's fix it. Instead, it's some of the dumbest slogans that you've ever seen in your entire life. And it's sad. It really is. Because there are some really good people. As I said, the public servants that are good, honest people. And guess what? The vast majority of them are. Shocker, most cops are good people. Shocker, right? Not that shocking. Are there bad ones? Yes. Do they need to be arrested, charged, kicked out? Yeah. We need to raise our standards for sure. But are most of them? Are a vast majority of them? No, not at all. And here's the other thing that often I think is getting ignored in this case. So it's all about the whole process. This whole new thing, right, has been about justice, right? Justice for this person. Justice for this person. The cop that did it, he's been arrested. He's being charged with what, third degree murder, manslaughter, I believe. So he's going to go to court. Based on the evidence that we've seen, he's likely going to be found guilty, which means he's going to not only not be a cop anymore, but also likely do jail time. Now, I don't know about the other people that were with him, but again, I don't know the law when it deals with cops being the people around a situation, right? I imagine at the very least, fines or being kicked out of being police officers, right? I think that at the very least, that's going to happen to him. But the person that did it, the person that led to the choking, the asphyxiation of the guy, guess what? He's been arrested. For me, that screams of justice. Right? He did something wrong. He has been arrested. He will stand trial. And yet the riots continue. the protests continue. And again, if you're peacefully protesting, you have every right to do so. But I have to ask that question. What is this for now? What is it for? Anyway, Crazy Cat Guy, thank you very much for the $5 super chat, says, just picked up the hand terminal and noticed the notification from YouTube. Finally catching another one of the live streams. Woo! It's Crazy Cat Guy. Thanks for joining us again, man. Glad to see you here. Thank you for that super chat as well. Glad you got the notification. Matthew Kadish, longtime friend of the channel, Matthew Kadish. He does a podcast, actually, the Salty Nerd podcast. I believe I got that entirely correct. Just hit a milestone, right? Like 4,000 downloads or something like that. So that's awesome. Congratulations, Matthew. Thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, loving the epic beard Allfather. Thank you. And Matthew, be careful with that Allfather talk, okay? Some people might be offended. Because if you're just joining us, someone wants me to change the name of my channel because Odin is offensive. Yeah. That's the world. That's the clown world that we're living in today. Because it truly is a clown world. But thank you very much for that super chat, man. I appreciate it. All right, back into the regular YouTube chat. Glowing the Hobbit says, your thoughts on Seth Rogen tells All Lives Matter supporters to stop watching his films. Okay. 1, you can't stop me from watching your movies even if I wanted to watch them. And 2, if this just means you're going to make a bunch of really bad political movies from this point forward, I wouldn't be watching them anyway. So, putui, I spit at you, Seth Rogen. Nano Reaper says, my dog's name is El Cid. Should I change his name because I'm not Spanish? That's the logic that this guy on Twitter is trying to use. Oh, Twitter logic. Saja Neon says, I don't think it's likely, but could Rob Pattinson's Batman be a prequel to the DCEU and future Batfleck films? No. Based on everything that's been revealed so far, it's going to be its own movie in its own universe with a very small chance that it could exist in the same universe as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. But again, even that is still very much up in the air. All right. Tina B says, I message that I have certain terms, hashtags, and words blocked on Twitter, so I probably won't see anything of yours anymore. Tina, no problem at all. So again, I love Tina. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with my nonsense, Tina. I appreciate it. Super says, hey, what is up, my dude? What's going on, Super? Glinzer says, why did Trump's visit to John Paul's shrine trigger the Catholic Archbishop? Again, if someone in general is going to criticize a politician for seemingly using certain things as props, again, worthy of discussion, worthy of criticism, I would say, yeah, I think that we can have a conversation about that. But for the head archbishop, because people need to realize that the Archdiocese of DC is essentially seen as like the primary, it's not exactly this, but it's seen by many as the primary diocese in the entire United States, right? So it's a very powerful position among the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops to be the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of DC. And so for him, in his position of authority, to say something about a political matter, I think steps out of bounds. And yeah, I have no problem with it because for me, I'm like, please convert. like me as the Catholic teacher, I'm like, yes, you're going the right direction. Oh man. But anyway, so I don't have a problem with it personally, but some people do. So, oh, thank you, Riff Magos. I'm so sorry I missed it. So Riff Magos has donated twice now, so let me catch up with this. So Riff Magos, thank you for the first $5 donation. He says, thank you, Odin, for being the voice of reason. On another positive note, is it true Kathleen Kennedy is finally leaving? I have not seen any news reports. Again, until there's an actual official report and it's not just rumor, I'm not buying into it because she was supposed to have left, over a year ago at this point? There is no breaking news. There is no breaking news headline for Kathleen Kennedy, so I would argue no. There is no truth to that. I hope she does. 2021 seems to be like the year, since Bob Iger is officially stepping down as of 2021, that she would also follow by retiring or whatever. But we'll have to wait and see. And then his second comment, so again, Riff Magos, thank you so much for the 2 donations there. Again, I'm so sorry I missed that first one. He says, here's another one. You may have missed my first one. I did. Sorry, mea culpa. He says, as a heathen myself, I strongly approve of your use of the name Odin. Well, Riff Magos, man, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's offensive. You can't use that name. feel like Batman. It's like, why did you say that name? Why do you use that name? How dare you? Oh, Rosetta Allen says, I'm about to flip on the people harassing you. Oh, I mean, the people that were getting to the point of harassment, I blocked. Like, I don't usually block in general. Like, if you're just having a good discussion with me and you disagree with me, okay, fine. Whatever. But if you're going to get to the point of harassment, I don't put up with that. Jeremy might tolerate it. Other people on Twitter might tolerate it. I don't. So some might say, oh, well, you could, mute them. Yeah, I could, but nah. I don't want to ever have a chance of seeing them in my chat. All right, let's see. Forever Sci-Fi says, my paternal grandfather survived Auschwitz. My maternal grandmother survived the destruction of Warsaw. And my father was imprisoned for being a member of Solidarity. Shaking my head at people offended by words. Yeah, seriously. Like, if you actually put things into perspective, everything changes. Bruce says, context disagree, just like I like both Suicide Squad and Leto's Joker. Exactly. Even though you've got those very bad takes on movies. We love each other. So, Bruce, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Super says, Twitter has been a raging dumpster fire all weekend. Not a day goes by where I don't at least consider deleting my account now. Yeah, I feel you. Greta Zenner says, what exactly is Antifa? So Antifa is an acronym or basically a shortening of anti-fascist. So they believe that they're a group fighting against fascism. What they actually are is exactly what they've been labeled, which is a domestic terrorist group. Basically, they're a group that goes around, infiltrates different protests that are happening, cause violence, cause chaos, because they're essentially anarchists. They believe in no law and order. So either they're anarchists. There's obviously, I think there's different levels. Like there's some that are just anarchists, let everything burn. And then there's some weird ones that are at least sympathetic to Antifa, that are usually Democratic politicians or movie stars who support them and don't have a problem with what they're doing. It's really crazy. But as far as the actual group itself, Antifa stands for anti-fascist. By them then actually being fascist. So, okay, sure, bud. Whatever you say. Hyman X13, exactly, even though you and I disagree on Hacksaw Ridge, for example, I can still respect and understand your opinion on it. Respectful conversation is extinct for some asshats. Yes, I agree. Tina B says, I do not think Gandhi or Martin Luther King would approve of any of this, but this isn't protesting. This is, I'm going to steal some lamps and TVs because somebody owes me something. Tina, exactly right. And there's been a lot of people that have been misquoting Martin Luther King. There's supposedly a quote floating around attributed to him about him basically supporting riots. And it's like, no. If you read anything of his work, if you ever listened to any of his speeches, he was very clearly a pacifist and believed in, strength through peace, basically. Very much of the same school of Mahatma Gandhi. Let's see. I cannot read that name. That shouldn't be. Hopefully I got that somewhat correct. Let's see. Antifa are not anarchists. They are communists. Well, I know that this is not by definition true, but at the end of the day, a lot of these things just all blend together to me. Like, I think there are people now that they will call themselves like anarchists, but they're actually communists, or they'll call themselves communists, but they're actually anarchists. I don't even think they know exactly what they are. But based on what we're seeing from Antifa, again, if you are burning down businesses, throwing things through windows, you're not really for government control. And communism is all about controlling, a government controlling, a centralized state controlling the people. These Antifa people, these Antifa rioters, they are not of that ilk. So I wouldn't say that personally, based on what I've been seeing and what I've read. Let's see. Super Anime Gamer. But thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. Super says, also don't forget, Black Lives Matter's 3 original founders admit to being inspired by a woman on the FBI's most wanted list. Yep. Can't forget about that. It's like the people that try and say, Planned Parenthood is awesome, and then ignore the fact that the founder of Planned Parenthood was a racist and a eugenicist. You can't separate that. You really can't. I'm sorry, you can't just be like, oh, well, we choose to believe, and then you still have idiots that say Margaret Sanger was a hero. Margaret Sanger was an amazing person for women's rights who also hated black people. Her words, not mine. Why do you think there's a lot of Planned Parenthood facilities in lower income areas? Because she wanted, again, her words, not mine, she wanted to wipe out an entire race of people. Oh, but we can't talk about that. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Black Lives Matter's 3 original founders admit to being inspired by a woman on the FBI's most wanted list. Makes sense to me. GMungus76 says, you are not born with hate and racism. It is a thought. Yeah, GMungus76, you're right. And I always love when people have those videos of the kids like running towards each other of different backgrounds, different races. Because again, it is a true statement. It is. You know, you're not born with it, you're taught it. Racism is not born in you, it's taught. And it's usually something that you're taught by your parents, right? Your parents are normally the ones who will teach you not just that, but any values, right? Parents are the ones that instill values. Why do you think we have so much hatred going on in these different scenarios? Do you think a lot of these people that are rioting, not protesting, but rioting, come from solid family homes? I strongly doubt it. I strongly doubt it. And I think that this is more so a result of the breakdown of society and the breakdown of the human family. That's just me, though. That shouldn't be. Thank you very much for a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. He's going on to explain. He says, in economic and political terms, anarchy is a right-wing philosophy. Young Ripper, for example, is an anarcho-capitalist, and if it wants to overthrow current order and implement communism. Okay, gotcha. So that makes a little bit more sense. So to me, though, Antifa uses a lot, I guess the right way to say it would, they use a lot of anarchist tactics, right? Overthrow society, overthrow everything. Because even anarchists, at their core, believe in having something control it, right? No one can actually say everyone should be by themselves. There should be no centralized authority whatsoever. Everyone should just do whatever the hell they want to do, and there shouldn't be anything, right? It just doesn't work, right? Both extremes really have nothing to work. There has to be something in the middle, which is why, again, with Young Ripa, he describes himself as an anarcho-capitalist. Again, two different things there, right? But finding that middle ground is always important. But here's the other thing too. I think that we can both agree with this. I think your name is Tad. Not exactly sure. But I want to say that we can both agree that in Antifa, there are likely both communists and anarchists. There are people on one side of, again, just like with any group, there's going to be different sides of it. People that either want no order whatsoever. Again, that's just what it seems like they're trying to do. And on the other side of it, people that want to overthrow society so that they can then put someone else in charge in a communist fashion. So, but thank you for explaining in the economic and political terms. Again, I know that there is a difference. Again, anarchy is, it's so funny that people say, oh, well, Hitler, he was far right. What? No. The way that I understand political skills is on the right side, you've got no government. The furthest right you can get, no government, anarchy. The farthest left you can get, complete government control. Centralized authority, right? So that would include both Mussolini, Hitler, again, all of them would be in obviously government control category, etc. And yes, we are saying that all lives matter. I saw someone in the chat say, yes, all lives matter, right? Isn't that just so, oh my gosh, that's so, you can't say that. Why? Because it's a correct term? Can I not believe that every single human life has value? Anyway. But thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate it. GMungus76 says, thank you for, again, saying, yeah, you're not born with racist thoughts. They're taught to you. Rosetta Allen says, this is an insane year. It is. I just want it to be over. And I don't think 2021 is going to be any better. We still have an election. We still have an election this year. That's how bad this year is. Not only do we have the beer bug, not only do we have government, overstepping their bounds and their authority, not only do we have all these riots now going on, the year's not over yet, for starters, and then we still have an election. God, man. If it were me, if I could be like emperor for a day, I would say, all right, we're just going to do away with political parties, do away with the election, and we're just going to, we're going to start from scratch. All right, we're going to reset, and then starting January 1st, 2021, we'll have anyone that thinks that they would be a good president, make your case. And then you have all the way until November. Use whatever money that you possibly can. If I could do one thing, Again, I don't believe in those principles. However, if I was, right, if I was given that power, I would do that because I'd be like, all right, let's not worry about this election stuff. Let's focus on stopping the riots. Let's focus on trying to, heal society. Let's try to heal some of these wounds here. Because if you think things are bad now, just wait until election season really ramps up. Because it's going to get worse. And it is terrifying. Tina says, so Odin, we're not going to die from COVID, but we might get our skulls caved in from rioters? Gotcha. I know, right? And again, it's so interesting how some of these governors that were so like, oh, you can't protest these you can't protest. I say nay, nay. You can't be more than you have to be 6 feet apart if you're going to protest the lockdown. And then all of a sudden they're doing these protests and rioting, and it's like, oh, that's fine. I'm not going to touch that. Oh, okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. I guess COVID isn't as bad as you've been trying to tell us that it is. Like, seriously. Oh, lordy. Super Anime Gamer says, because the incubation period is so long, I'd say wait about a week for the influx. And again, I think based on when things started, that if we were going to see increases, it would be, because again, I think that the average incubation is absolutely around like a week and a half, 2 weeks. But that's, I think, the average. So I would say in the next day or two, you should theoretically start seeing the start of an increase with the peak reaching at about 2 weeks. And if we don't see that, they got some splaining to do. Also, Riff Magos just donated again. Riff Magos, thank you very much for another $5 donation. Says, can I please go back to the 80s now? Doc, where are you? Yeah. But then at the same time, too, like, people always say you want to go back, but then you don't really think about the repercussions of it, right? Because 80s weren't perfect. 90s weren't perfect, right? In my own head, at that point in my life, there were a lot of great things going on, but for a lot of people, it wasn't right. It wasn't good for them. So, yeah, I would say that too, but with reservations. It's like, if I can make exceptions, then. But thank you, Riff. I appreciate that, man. Orange Eye Review says, all I will say of the craziness in the country and on Twitter is this. I bow to no man, Richard B. Riddick. I will bow before God on the day of my judgment. Yeah, so there's this other video going around. Could have been staged, for all we know, but there are also other videos that were not staged where it happened, where you have people kneeling before others, apologizing on behalf of their entire race. As Orange Hat Reviews just said, yes, I bow to no man. I bow to God. Simple as that. And maybe occasionally if I have to apologize to my wife, maybe then too. But those are the only two exceptions, with the main one, of course, being God. Rosetta Allen says, it's amazing what working class pulled on you. I kicked his rear off my feet. What? Huh? I forgot that person's name, probably. Father Christopher Miller says, Hail Father says, not a fan of Archbishop Gregory. I think he interviewed me back in 2004 during the seminary Vatican visits. Oof, yeah. I'll leave it at that because I don't want anyone to get in trouble. Rosetta Allen says, and I disagree with Catholicism, yet somehow we get along spiritually. Because unlike him, we have respectful discussions. Yes, exactly right. Trust me, if I was to poll how many people that watch me are Catholic, probably a very small percentage. Probably. Right? Some of the people that I'm closest to aren't Catholic. And that's fine. Because we agree on the most basic principles. And we're respectful of each other. What a concept. Soul Assassin. I know a guy named Odin. He's a bit crazy, but has a cool movie blog. I am a bit crazy. There's no denying that. There's no denying that at all. But we got 115 people watching, so please smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. Grandmaster Yoda says, lockdown have an impact for sure. Look at Norway versus Sweden. They did not lock down, and the results are crushingly clear. It works. That lockdowns work or that lockdowns don't? Sometimes I can't understand the way that you put phrases together, Grandmaster. I know that you're trying to translate, but... Good one to Hobbit says, Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx drama, Just Mercy, free to rent on all streaming platforms. Yeah, I think I saw a report on that movie. I didn't know that it was free to rent. Again, if the point of that is to push a message, though, then I will refuse to watch it. Forever Sci-Fi, you can't keep a business open without making a profit. Eventually, you need to fix, upgrade, give raises. Exactly. So to the people that think, hey, they got a government handout. Okay, the handout was only enough to keep them afloat. Static. But the nature of business is to grow. And therefore, if you've been static for 6 months, that's a problem. That is a big problem. So thank you very much, Forever Sci-Fi. That's an excellent point. As Father is speaking heresy, he says, Hail Zenu. Get that Scientology nonsense out of here. How dare you? How dare you? Here he is. He's here. Captain Wingster has now reached his final form. Captain Jesus is in the chat. He says, Hail Odin, as the son of God, I am here to defend the king of Norse gods. You see, Captain Jesus, that's exactly it, right? Like, that's funny. That is funny. People need to light up. You can't use Odin. It's offensive. This dude's calling himself Captain Jesus, saying the most heretical thing possible. He says, as the son of God, I'm here to defend the king of Norse gods. That's heretical. But I love it because it's funny. Because we're fun. And we try to have fun when we can. I'm so glad I brought that up, too, because there's a lot of heavy stuff tonight, right, that I mentioned. That's a very light one, though. That's one that I think everyone can get a good laugh at. At least, hopefully, that's the case. And 14 years strong, Rosetta Allen celebrating her anniversary. Congratulations. Happy 14-year anniversary to you and your hubby. Tina says, I do not go on Twitter feeds, or life won't be worth living anymore because they'll drive you insane. I have a lot of life left to live, thank God. Yes, you do, Tina. You've got so many more cruises to go on, Tina. Like, seriously. And yeah, I don't blame you. Not at all. And I'm thinking of doing the same thing, taking a little bit of a joke. Sorry, a little bit of a joke, a little bit of a break. A little bit of a break from it myself. I said that because immediately the chat jumped on me and it went to Captain Jesus. And I was like, oh boy. But the chat did jump on me. It's 7:45 in the chat. It's 8:03 where I am, so I'm, again, still about 20 minutes behind. Some comments may have been skipped. So if you left a comment before 7:45 p.m. and you didn't hear it, then it's been skipped, so you can post it again. But if you don't fit those categories, please do not post it again, because if you left it all, I could have read it, and I'd rather not double up. Anyway, let me jump back into the D Live for a second. Crow BS, what's going on, Crow? How is it going? And no, I do not do any of those deals. Be like, oh, if you do this, you get diamonds. No, it's okay. Fine. Captain Adam in the clan. Captain Adam in the clan. Welcome to the chat, man. Where you been? He says, Killer Hornets. Remember them? Yeah, remember when we had Killer Hornets? We had COVID. Everything was, crazy. And now look where we are. Things have gotten even worse. Captain Adam says, unfortunately, right now shows the world how weak America is. Again, I think that it mostly, it's hard to say. I think I just don't like the wording of that. But yeah, it definitely shows how broken as a culture and society, and how fractured. I think that's a better expression. How fractured we are as a country. I think that's a fair statement. And I believe that, did I really just... Oh, no. So it skipped on D Live. All right, let me go back a little bit because I missed a lot on D Live. Oh, boy. Oh, lordy. So I read, okay. So some comments may have been skipped on D Live. I'm not sure. Captain K-Man says, this quit being about justice after day 2. Since then, it's just been about trying to burn the world down. Fair point. Peabody says, the second autopsy showed the same as the first one. No marks on the neck. The doctor watched the video and said it looked like asphyxia. Yeah, so obviously there were conflicting reports on that, and the most recent ones that we have was that it was asphyxia. And again, the cop's been arrested. They will stand trial. The doctors will report. And based on these reports, the person is going to be found guilty of, I think that's being charged with third-degree murder manslaughter. Captain High says, I'm offended by drunk 3PO. He's not drunk all the time, and he's not C3PO. Exactly. That's the same logic. Thank you for that, Captain Heiss. It's the same logic that guy was trying to use earlier. You're not really Odin. How dare you? Got a guy in my chat called Captain Jesus. He's not Jesus. It's funny. Will Gentry, a bad joke to lighten the mood. Why can't little girls fart? Because they don't get because they don't get a-holes until they marry. Because they marry a-holes. Okay, I gotcha. I thought you were going in a very different direction with that, Will. Oh, God. Peabody, George died of a heart attack and had meth and fentanyl in his system. Again, that was one report, though. So again, we have conflicting reports from doctors on this specific case. He did have, I think that's one thing that we can agree on. One, that the arrest and the events of the arrest led to his death. I think that we can at least we may not have all the details for sure yet on that. We can all agree that that is what we do know. The events of the arrest led to his death. But then also, too, he had drugs in his system, right? And that's the other thing that we have to be careful of, right? Hold the cops accountable. No question about it. Hold him accountable, too, though. He's not an angel, right? So we should definitely stand up for justice. No question about it. And guess what? The guy who did it has been arrested, okay? So far, it seems like justice is rolling out for now. If something changes, obviously, my tune will change too. But this guy also was not a saint. Sometimes I feel like we deify people. We deify victims sometimes, and I don't think that's a good policy. We shouldn't deify anyone because there is only one God. Marcus DP, thank you for the ice cream donation. I appreciate it. Thank you. Riasky, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. All right, now I'm caught up with the DLive chat. Perfect. Let's see if there's been any new ones since I found out where I was. Let's see. All right, Will Gentry says, it was murder hornets, not just killer hornets. Right, murder hornets. I forgot about that. It's a whole new thing. Will Gentry says, gotta keep it clean for the kiddies watching. Exactly, Will Gentry. Exactly. And you're here saying all the dirty jokes. How dare you? How dare you, Will? All right. Sierra Productions says, hello there, Sierra Productions. I'm back in the YouTube chat. Slash Neon says, High Council and Dark Council caution streams at 8. Yes, indeed. That I did know about beforehand. And again, awesome that the Dark Council is being hosted on the High Council. That should be awesome. Christopher Mill says, don't you dare change your channel name, All Father. It won't be because of that. It will not be because of that. If it was going to be changed for anything, it would be to basically have everything be the same. So there was a time when I was thinking of changing it to OMB Reviews because I just feel like that fits better to what I actually do. And then there's a website that at some point in the future maybe might come something and it would be the same name overall. A little bit easier to say as well. But so far, most people didn't like that. So, Bad Nerd Fun. What's up, Bad no fun? He says, Hail Odin. Thank you. Some Martha's in the chat. Awesome. Oh, I triggered somebody in the chat. Poor little Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. Were you triggered by my comments? Yeah, Joe, guess what? All lives do matter. Guess what? Your life matters too. You're welcome. Sierra Production says, Antifa. Some men just want to watch the world burn. Yeah, pretty much. Nano Reaper says, Antifa are pawns of the fascist George Soros. Yeah, that's the other thing that's not being talked about all that much. George Soros. The money behind it all. Someone's got to financially support these people. George Soros is one of them. Michael Henley, thank you very much for that $10 super chat. He says, hi, Odin. Reference to that girl farting joke. I take it your wife still can't fart. Well, she's married. Again, these are one of those things where it's this can be taken a lot of ways because either one, you're being really nice, saying I'm not an a-hole. Thank you, by the way. I think definitely sometimes I can come across as one. So if someone did think that, I would not be surprised. So you're either saying that or you're going down a weird path. So I'm just going to move on from it. But Michael Henley, thank you very much for the super chat. I hope that was meant as a comment. Let me know in the live chat. And at some point, I'll catch up with it. Rob D says, did anything good get added to HBO Max? It's a very good question. And so actually, because of that, let me go ahead and just get that set up. We'll go ahead and look into it. There have been some things that have been added. I think there's a just added section. So let me go ahead and go into my news report. Rachia. Alrighty, so as you can see, some movies have been added. So X-Men First Class, Home Alone, fantastic. Amelie, some people like that classic film. Doubt, this is an excellent film. Whether you're Catholic or not, it's a very, very good film about what is truth, suspicion. You've Got Mail. I've actually never seen that one before, so I add that to my list. Sherlock Holmes, Full Metal Jacket, fantastic Kubrick film, might be one of my favorites. I think still 2001: A Space Odyssey is my favorite. Final Destination. Here's what I'm actually excited about because I've only ever seen half of the movie Dune, of the original film. That has now been added to HBO Max, and so I plan to watch the rest of it. I'll probably just start it over and watch it all again in one sitting. A movie called Father's Day. Look at that cast. Robin Williams is always a sell to me. When Harry Met Sally, I've actually never seen that before, so I'm going to add that to my list too. Weird Science, never seen that one before either. And let's see. Looks like what are those called? The Olsen Twins movies there. American Werewolf in London. I've actually never seen that. The Fountain. I added that one to my list because it actually looked pretty interesting. Chicago, Clash of the Titans. Not a great film. I've actually never seen Drop Dead Gorgeous now that I'm thinking about it. I've heard usually good things about that. And Mystic River is actually a fantastic movie that I would recommend. So those are the things that have been added so far, but it looks like for the month of June, there's a lot of things that are going to be added on, films and television shows. And as I said, in the next year or so, I think HBO Max is going to become a big contender. Here's the big problem with HBO Max, is kind of like a full update. They still do not support a Roku app. They still do not support an Amazon Fire Stick or Firebox, Fire TV app. They've said they have the apps ready, but the contracts haven't been finished yet. I'm sorry, is it really that hard to come up with a contract with Roku and Amazon? Like, seriously, HBO already has their apps, HBO Now and HBO Go still available, so just either make a similar deal or give them a little bit more. Because at this point, you're leaving out a huge portion. Like we talked about this last time in the news update on HBO Max, the vast majority of people that stream own a Roku device. So you are literally shutting out the vast majority of people that want to utilize your service. There are people on this channel that have said they do not want to use your service until you finally support those apps on those services because they don't have it. They don't have anything else. They have a Roku. They have Roku. They have Fire TV, but you don't support it. So right now, the only thing you can really watch it on are things like Android TV boxes, Apple TV boxes, laptops, things like that. I want to say maybe PS4s, like, other things like that. But yeah, leave a lot of people out by doing that. A lot of people out. Forever Sci-Fi says, Antifa are cannon fodder goons. They don't get that they will be the first to die in the revolution or offend at the end of it, or offered at the end of it. Yep, they are pawns. That's a great, excellent point. Tina says, you are so right about Sanger. Hitler admired the woman. Yep. When Hitler thinks fondly of you, as he did Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, what does that say about the organization? I think it speaks volumes. Christopher Mills says, believe all women, right? Herta Arberhauser, this woman was a Nazi during World War II. Yep. Believe all women until it's not politically beneficial to you, right? Because that's the other story that has disappeared. Remember when Joe Biden recently got credibly accused of misconduct? Also, this person had people who were told at the time that something had happened, something that was lacking in the case of the Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh. Remember the circus that we went through for Brett Kavanaugh, but yet there's more evidence, or at least more credible evidence, seemingly, with Joe Biden? And I think in both cases, no, I think that I don't like the whole concept of 30-year allegations in the first place. Just not really something that I take a lot of stock in. That being said, treat people equally. If you're going to make Brett Kavanaugh jump through hoops and go through a circus, but you're going to give Joe Biden a pass, your entire argument is now flawed. Yeah, believe all women only if they're of your political party is what that actually should fully say. Nana Reaper, excellent point here. The tactics they are using are from Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Yep. Yes, indeed. And a lot of people on the political left have been influenced by that work. Tina, thank you very much for telling me about Odin Question. Stephanie B says, Stephanie says, 70B, not in the mood for someone posting nonsense. Yeah, Tina B, you did right. putting that person in timeout. If you're just going to spout off on stuff, if you have a question or a comment, you can contact me and we'll have a good time. Sierra Production says, if you think about it, under normal circumstances, the mainstream media would be exploiting these riots to prove their points about jokers inspiring violence. Yes, they would. You remember when the Tea Party happened and the media freaked out because people were holding guns at the Tea Party rallies, but they didn't shoot anybody. They didn't burn anything down. In fact, in many communities, they actually left the community more clean or cleaner than it was when they first got there. Go ahead and look that up. Do your own research on it. Don't always take my word for it, because I can be wrong. Remember that, though? I do. Remember how wrong they were? Yeah, look at those same networks and those same anchors and how they're responding to this. They might even still now, because I stopped watching them, but for a very long while in the beginning, the first couple of days, they were defending the rioters. If only they had defended the rioters or the protesters, because they really were protesters during the Tea Party. But oh no, again, only defend those that have the same political ideology as you. Aha. Sierra Production says, but because it's concerning the death of a man who happened to be black, now there's nothing. What does that tell you? Yep. That is a fair point. Tina says, well, someone who I just timed out said, you can't say all lives matter because it means all diseases matter. I'm not in the mood for the BS. And also that is illogical. That is completely illogical. I don't know if that's something that your college professor taught you, that you just bought hook, line, and sinker because you need help. But yeah, all lives matter does not mean the same thing as all diseases matter. No, all lives matter means every single human life has value and matters. It's a good philosophy to have. I recommend that you adopt that philosophy, in fact. Whether you do or not, I have no idea. But I hope you do. Glinzer says, if Trump is reelected in November, there will be more riots. If Biden is elected, it'll be quiet. Remember, conservatives are bad. Yeah, you remember all of the riots that happened after Obama was elected? Oh, wait. Now, am I saying that no one did anything wrong? No, of course. People are idiots. Any election, any side wins, someone is going to do something stupid. But if you were to compare numbers, guarantee you more people rioted, caused violence, broke stuff when Trump was elected than 4 years earlier. And 8 years earlier. Tina says, no one wants me to be empress for a day. As Yoda said to Luke about being afraid, oh, you will be. You will be. Yes. Love those quotes. Forever Sci-Fi. Elections last 4 years now. As soon as one is over, people start running for the next. Yeah. Everyone, keep me this in mind. And also, it's so funny being on Twitter because people just assume when I talk about things like, Trump derangement syndrome or, calling people out for their hypocrisy, etc., they assume that I'm a Trump supporter. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I voted for a guy called Evan McMullin, who was running third party. And the only reason why is because I probably would have gone with the Libertarian that year. Problem is that the mainstream Libertarian Party has become very, very pro-choice, which as a Catholic, I'm vehemently against, right? I'm adamantly pro-life. So that's a very important issue for me, right? It's not the only issue I care about, but it's one where if you don't have it, I'm not going to be able to support you, right? That's one of the reasons why, as far as like the Democrats go, the best one they had was Tulsi Gabbard. Hands down, the best person they had politically was Tulsi Gabbard. Her biggest flaw for me, though, was that she was pro-choice. But I can still give her credit because at the very least, in her platform, she said, here's where the cutoff is. You ask most Democrats, when does life begin? They can't answer because they think it should be protected all the way up until 9 months, which is insane. Categorically. But yeah, it's absolutely insane how elections have indeed become that. Let's see. Dean Approve. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat, Dean. He says, "Que pasa?" Threw a coin to your channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for throwing a coin to your Witcher. Or at least your Allfather. Oh, can I still say that? Can I still call myself Allfather? No, the guy on Twitter won't let me, apparently. But, ¿qué pasa? Bien, y tú? Alrighty, let's see. We're still over on YouTube. Forever Sci-Fi says, nah, they'll probably be telling us that anyone shot rioting died of COVID. It's so sad, but it's so true. Soul Assassin says, go back in time using the hot tub time machine method. Go in style. Tina, thanks for letting them know how to contact me. You're right. I will not see your comment unless you type Odin question, because then it highlights orange and it lets me know you're trying to get my attention. Nathan Slay, I'm sorry I am late, but hope you're doing well. Nathan Slay, doing fine, man. Glad that you are here. Forever Sci-Fi says, if you want a recent movie to review, watch The Healer. It's like $5 to buy on Amazon. I didn't hear about The Healer. I've never heard of it. Captain Jesus, who said this 20 minutes ago, says, finally, I thought YouTube was skipping my comment. Nope. I'm just 20 minutes behind the chat, and I'm still 20 minutes behind the chat. Rob D then says, as an accounting student, I can tell who is at least somewhat knowledgeable of business and who has no concept of it. Boom, Rob D. There you are, man. And the chat's going to jump on me here. Boom. Let's see. Have any comments been skipped? Looks like some comments have been skipped. So it's now 8:07 in the YouTube chat. So if your comment was before 8:07, it may have been skipped unless I've already read it. If you've been here the whole time and I didn't hear it, post it again. If you have been here, or rather, if you haven't been here the whole time and you've been back and forth, then just assume that it was read just for my own sanity. But it's 8:22 where I am. So again, I'm still about 15 minutes behind, but I do try and stay fair. And so let me jump now over to D-Live to catch up with them. Will Gender says, hey, it was a clean, dirty joke. If you want a dirty joke, I can oblige you. No, Will. Keep it clean. All right, keep it clean. Captain Mr. Roy, thank you for the diamond donation. I appreciate that. He dropped a second diamond. Captain Mr. Roy, you're a very generous man. Thank you. Will Jarger says, ugh, don't get me started on the number of times I've been thinking, stop making me defend Trump as I'm on Twitter. I do not like the man, but he's the most lied about person on the planet, so people constantly need correcting about him. Will Gentry, thank you. I feel the same way. It's like, please stop making me defend him. I didn't vote for him. I didn't want him. Now, is he better on paper than the alternative? Sure, I think one can argue that point. Big issue for me, as I mentioned previously, is pro-life. That's a huge issue. And he's been one of the most pro-life presidents that we've had. So I got to give him that. But there's been a lot of things like in his personal life that I am not a fan of. I think he's an asshat. I think he's full of himself. And I don't like that quality in a person. That's just me. And again, if you like the guy, hey, I respect you, right? As long as you're respectful of me, I'm respectful of you. But yeah, Will Gentry, I feel the same way, man. It's like, don't make me defend him. It's like, at this rate, you were pushing me to vote for him in 2020. I don't want to. My plan the past 4 years has been, in 4 years, I'll probably still end up voting third party. And I probably still will. But it gets so much crazier every single day. It's like, man, you know what I mean, Will. You know what I mean. You know, Will can't vote here, but I imagine that if you were like me and you lived here and were a citizen here, that you would also be like, you know what? I don't want to, but you're pushing me in that direction. It wouldn't make a difference in my state. Tennessee's a pretty red place, but still, man, God. Oh, these people be crazy. These people be crazy. All right, caught up over on D-Live. Jumping back over into the YouTube comments. Nana Reaper, member on the channel. Thank you for being a member here, by the way. Thank you. He says, fighting someone, fentanyl is like fighting someone on PCP. And again, I think that as the case is laid out, more information will be there. And again, this is the reason why I don't like hot takes when it comes to stuff like this, right? You can have hot takes on movies. You can have hot takes on things that don't matter. But when a perceived crime has taken place, let's get all of the facts. Let's go through the process. If you think the process is corrupt, okay, let's talk about that too. Let's bring those things up. But if the media is just going to post, this is the fact and this is the fact when we don't have all of the information, that's a problem. As I said before, that's why the media are the most culpable in all of this. The media are the biggest problem in all of this because they want people to be pissed. They want people to hate each other. They want people to cause violence because it means more ratings for them. They don't care about the truth. They don't give one iota about what's true. It's ridiculous. All right, Christopher Mills says, only one God in heaven and all the false gods will not save anyone. Again, Christopher Mills, I believe that. But as I said, I will be respectful of anyone that does not believe that in the chat. I will also be praying for your conversion and the salvation of your soul, which is true, but also I'm not going to be a complete ass to you about it, right? Zinewater says, people do deify things and people. I've heard a lot about the Stonewall riots. Stonewall Inn was a mafia-run illegal bar that had prostitution, drugs, and child prostitution, which is disgusting. Yes. So, yeah, it's amazing how much and how many people do that, right? Deify objects, deify things, right? Sometimes I fall into that too. I'm not perfect. I fall into that same thing too. I cannot tell you how often I spend way too much time on my phone, way too much time on Twitter, way too much time on social media, right? We deify these things. We make these things worth more than what they actually are. So, hey, mea culpa. I have that issue too. But I always try and say, at the very least, I can admit that I have a problem. And I wish more people, especially these people in the media and these people who are rioting, etc., could at the very least be honest with themselves, right? Inflamed Wood, what's going on, dude? It's been too long since I've seen you in the chat. I've shouted you out every single day because you are a Patreon member. By the way, Jonathan Carney, are you one of my former students, Jonathan Carney, or are you another Jonathan Carney? Because I'm like, wait a minute. Thank you for becoming a $10 backer on Patreon. I'll add your name to the end credits after tonight's stream. But I'm going to shout you out right now. Thank you for becoming a $10 member. Also, Zero Duality, thank you for the Canadian $2 super chat. He says, old houses matter, faith and love to the chat and you. Well, thank you, Zero Duality. I appreciate it, man. Yes, all houses matter. Not the same thing as all lives matter, by the way. As that other person said, it's like saying all diseases matter. No. It's not the same thing. Because a human life is worth so much more, infinitely more, than any disease or object. So it's not the same thing at all, actually. All right. Where are we in the chat? Bruce says, gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness. Yep. Nathan Slay, what the heck happened to social distancing? I thought that was the most important thing right now. I guess it's not when you feel the urge to riot. Yep. Where's Dr. Fauci? Remember how he was the superstar in the media, trying to convince people, oh yeah, I gotta stay at home. And again, I'm not saying, for the record, I'm not saying that staying at home did nothing. What I am saying, though, is that because social distancing has now flown out the window, since these governors and all these other local principalities are allowing these protests and, in many places, riots to occur with no repercussions, if we don't see an influx in cases, if we don't see massive destruction on a massive level, because, again, these are main cities. These are large numbers of people in tight-knit areas, but in large cities. So these numbers should be catastrophic. If everything we've been told is true, these numbers should be catastrophic. But if it's not, oh boy, they'll have some splaining to do. Darkness, hail to you, good sir. Thanks for being here. Tina says, YouTube just knocked me off. I'm on my phone. Don't send me comments until I say so. Tina, I'm so sorry. Oh no, sorry. Forever Sci-Fi says, I find Movie Blog to be more wrong than Odin, but that's just because of 2020. Forever Sci-Fi, that's a fact. Yeah, and again, I apologize at the beginning of the stream. I would love to be talking about movies and new stuff happening, but it's 2020, as you mentioned, and things are going crazy right now. The Shiadu says, if you took off Antifa's masks and put them in brown shirts and jackboots, they would look a lot like the 1930s newsreels. Bruce says, I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. Yes. Love me some airplane love. And someone's going to take that out of context. Love for the movie Airplane. Get your head out of the gutter. Bruce says, okay, no more. Psych, I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing. Spaceballs, great film. Nathan Slay, also what happened to the killer hornets? Murder hornets, Nathan. Murder hornets. Get it right. Tina says, I hope my long list of recommendations on Discord will be helpful. Yes, Tina, I have to still read through it all. I wish you had made like a list first and then done the explanations. But yeah, I had gotten a lot of those already there. All right, Michael Henley's explaining here. He says, it was meant to be in the spirit of in no way are you an a-hole. Okay, Michael Henley, thank you for explaining it, man. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. All right, so now we're getting to the part of the chat where I showed the updates to HBO Max. Outpost Dyer, what's going on, good sir? Says, add Weird Science to your list. Pretty good for the 80s. I did. I know it's a part of, there's a Blu-ray collection that's been around for a while that has, I think it's 16 Candles, Weird Science, and The Breakfast Club. It's like the John Hughes yearbook collection, I think is what it's called. So Weird Science has always been on my radar. So yeah, I added it. Father Christopher Miller says, Drop Dead Gorgeous. Yes. I added it to the list. Hope it's good. Forever Sci-Fi says, never seen Weird Science unsubbed. Yeah, I know. It's on the list, though. It is on the list. Tina says, I think I've seen The Fountain. Is that with Rachel Weisz and maybe Hugh Jackman? If so, oh boy, I shall say no more. Yes, I know that it is a trip. I know that it is a trip for show. Alex McCarthy says, I like Clash of the Titans. Watched it last night. Of course you did, Alex. Of course you did. King of the bad movies himself. That Tad shouldn't be says, if you have never read the novel Dune, David Lynch's Dune will make little to no sense. You would need to read the novel first or watch the extended version of that movie. Yeah, I don't know if the HBO Max version is the extended version. I don't think I would have the patience for the novel. I hear it's kind of dense. And I have ADD. Rob D says, watch Home Alone and then watch The Good Son. It will totally change your thoughts on a child Macaulay Culkin. Really? I like Home Alone. I've never seen The Good Son, though. Tina then says, got that right about American Werewolf in London. It's a great movie. Okay. Well, since I still have that page open, let me add The Good Son and also Werewolf in London. Boom. I think I actually had the Blu-ray for Werewolf in London. It was sent to me as one of the movies that I had to review that I fell way too far behind on because they kept sending me movies every single week. And I'm like, I can't keep up with this, man. E-Boyd, I see you in the chat, dude. He says, how's it going, man? We miss you here in LA. Thank you, dude. I miss my peeps down in Louisiana, too. Alex Ricardi says, I've been binging 70B's favorite show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on HBO Max. I've actually never seen that show all the way through. I've seen a couple episodes. I just never got into it. Wasn't my show. Captain Jesus says, believe all women. Odin, women be crazy. I should know. My dad made them that way. Captain Jesus in the chat. Bad Fun says, yes, they will think Pulp Fiction echo to today. Shane Egan, I saw Tucker Carlson's 30-minute thing and I teared up. Dude, Tucker Carlson has been on a rip lately. You may not like him overall in general, but I think his takes on all of this craziness have actually been really good. Bruce says, I think it's credible to think that the DNC is backing the people who are stoking the flames at these protests by fanatically supporting those leading the riots. Again, I think that's a fair point. Also, isn't it interesting that Hollywood has also gotten involved and that they've been saying that they will be paying for the bonds of the people being arrested? Not just, again, if you're being arrested, it doesn't mean that you were just an innocent protester. It means that you were doing some form of violence. So they are basically helping the people that rioted. They are supporting rioters. Why? These people are insane. Oh, and of course they're just completely full of themselves, but that is for another time. All right. Anyway, Tim Tringle Jr., thank you very much for the $5 super chat, man. He says, ever watched North by Northwest? Great Hitchcock movie. Yes, I have seen North by Northwest. It is a fantastic, wonderful Hitchcock film. No question about it. And then Dean Approved, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. He says, oh gosh, The Good Son, it's good. I won't say anything else. Oh boy. I have a feeling that it's going to be sad or emotional is what I'm getting from that. Tina B says, yeah, I saw a black homeless dude shove a white man into the street and tell him, our man is in the White House. You people are done. After Obama's first election, I was like, OMG. Yep. Absolutely. And actually, the best take on the election, the first election, where it was Obama versus John McCain. the best take on that entire election was on South Park, because it took both sides on. The Republicans were inside, not rioting, but were inside depressed, saying the world was going to end. And again, I was alive during this time, so I can say that a lot of people felt that way. On the flip side, you had the Obama supporters, and they were going to the streets, destroying property, being drunken asshats. And I'm like, this is the perfect thing, because it's going after the Republicans who think the world's going to end, that everything is over, and then it's also going after the Democrats who are going out being crazy and stupid. So, Arthur Cook says, okay, you didn't vote for Trump, but you do support him and his values. Wait a minute. Arthur Cook, you didn't vote for him, but you still support him and his values. No. There's a few values that he stands for. For example, his pro-life values, because he has been one of the most pro-life presidents ever, policy-wise. So I do support him there, but just because I support him on certain things does not mean I embrace every single policy that he stands for. And guess what? The fact still remains, I didn't vote for him, and I still have no plans to vote for him again. But it's because of people like you with TDS, which if you don't know means Trump derangement syndrome, where literally nothing he does can be good. Seriously, Arthur Cook, I would ask you this question. Is there one positive thing that you can say about him? Is there one positive thing? Because if there isn't, you have a problem. If you can't say one positive thing about someone, one positive thing about anyone, you have a problem, Arthur. So does someone come in here saying, oh, you didn't vote for him, but you still support him and his values? And again, if you weren't going for that, I'm sorry. But that's how it came across to me. And God, I can't stand that lack of logic. Super says, that and the Libertarian candidate was Gary Johnson. He was a dingus who wanted a carbon tax and wanted us in the refugee program too, I think. Yeah, Gary Johnson had a lot of great qualities the first time he ran for the Libertarian ticket, and then he just kind of got crazier as the years went on. Yeah, it was like, I can't really support him now. I cannot support him now. All right, Arthur's back at it, so it looks like I did have the right take on the first one. He says, I agree the riots were absolutely awful, but can you at least acknowledge some police have done awful things to innocent people and peaceful protesters in the past few days? Again, I'm not denying that at all. I am not denying that. At no point have I denied it, because guess what? There are people that are peacefully protesting. There are people that are rioting. There are people that are destroying property. And guess what? If you're going to bring up, can you at least acknowledge that some police have done terrible things? Yes. Because guess what? In any group or organization, you're going to have people that do the wrong thing. Especially if it's a position of power. That's like someone saying, will you at least acknowledge that some politicians are corrupt? Yeah. You're not protesting that. And guess what? There are some things that politicians are doing that are pretty bad. Pretty bad. So again, I'm looking for the logic here, man. So far, I don't see any. Tina Bojan says, I question 20-year claims without corroboration. I was assaulted in college. No R word on YouTube. Also, I didn't go to police or the school. I darn well told a few people who could speak for me. Now, again, Tina, yeah. And as I said before, like, I'm usually not a fan of it, just of the allegations, just because a lot of questions rise up. Like, why did you wait so long? And again, I know that there are definitely situations where the trauma of the event and not wanting to have that exposure, not wanting to... Again, there's a sense of embarrassment that's attached to it as well, this sense of pain. So there's obviously reasons why people would wait as long as they would. But yeah, I think you know what I mean. Like when these, especially during these political races, you know, when you're in the heat of an election or when you're in the heat of a Supreme Court appointment and all of a sudden these charges come up, you start to have questions and you start to have doubts, right? It's like, and I think that we can both agree, Tina, because you seem like a very sensible person from the time you've been on the channel, right? That the whole concept of believe all women is just completely redundant. It's like, no. Believe women who have facts and data to back themselves up, which would include, as you mentioned, people that have corroborating witnesses, etc. Versus someone that's coming out of the blue, claiming something, can't back up their story, changes their story constantly, has no corroborating evidence at all, and yet somehow is given front page access and story. But when it happens to a Democrat and there actually is corroboration, now, who? Who's Tara Reid? Tara who? Huh? What? Let's see. Mark 63366 says, all of the reporters said we were living in a post-race society after Obama was elected. They didn't lie, did they? Yeah. Remember how, and it's so funny because they're like, we need to elect Joe Biden. because he can fix race relations. What was he doing for 8 years when he was vice president? In fact, if you want to be honest, one could easily argue that race relations got worse under Obama. And they've continued to get worse under Trump. Can we at least agree with those 2 points? If you were going to say it's gotten worse under Trump, which I would agree based on everything that's been happening over the past 4 years, I think that's a fair assessment. You would also have to agree that it also is true under Obama. And if you don't, you have TDS and you have a problem. Super Anime Gamer says, Gary Johnson was also the guy who once confused global warming with the inevitable heat death of the sun. Yep. Among other things. Shane Egan says, in Ireland, our media has only showed the peaceful protests and riot policing firing tear gas, and how he is deploying the military seems like they're trying to compare it to Tiananmen Square. Yeah. Shane Egan, thank you for letting me know that. So again, outside the United States, they are showing and trying to create a narrative. And this does not surprise me. That's why the media is the true bad guy in all this. They want the ratings. They want to control the narrative. And they're doing just that. They believe, if you're outside the United States, based on that alone, and you take what the mainstream media tells you, you believe that it's all 99% peaceful protest, and it's the cops that are shooting tear gas for no reason because of peaceful protest. And they will ignore the fact that there are riots at every single one of these protests in these major cities, and that the destruction of property has been vast. The attack on human life has been vast, but oh no, we can't talk about that, can we? That would be too much truth. Oh dear, I dropped the stitch. The chat has jumped on me once again. That was from an infomercial back in the day. It was fantastic. All right, the chat has jumped on me once again. It's 8:26 in the chat. It's 8:42 in real life. We will need to start to try and wrap things up a little bit. Again, we'll go a little bit longer tonight because obviously there's a lot of comments and questions out there. Also, we still have 110 people watching. Thank you so much for still being here tonight. Again, I know that it's been crazy. Let me catch up on D-Live real quick. Let's see. Erkan, thank you very much for following on D-Live. I appreciate it. Captain Dean High says, I got an email from Patreon the other day that they were going to start charging sales tax. Glad I use Subscribestar. Yeah, I've heard someone mention that, and it's something that, sadly I can't fight, which is why I do have a Subscribestar, right? I do offer an alternative to Patreon because Patreon has a lot of issues. Let's see. Maybe that's just in my state, says Captain Nice. No, they sent out several emails, and I know Orange Hat Reviews has also mentioned it previously as well. All right, Will Gentry has a few comments here. He says, did you see the Antifa kid who torched a cop car, then got taken in the next morning by his mom and dad? It was hilarious. I did. His mom and dad made him do a perp walk in front of all the cameras as they turned him into the cop shop. Those are good parents. I don't know what led to him becoming an asshat like that, but if they will go ahead and make sure the kid takes responsibility, those are good parents. He then says, I remember that South Park episode and both parties being surprised that the next morning the world hadn't ended. Yep, Will Gentry, exactly. He says, race relations did get worse under Obama and are getting worse under Trump. However, I believe that it's because of the media, not policy. I think that, I would say that's a fair statement. I would say that's definitely a fair assessment. Because if you're going to look to it, right, people always say, well, Fox News was so anti-Obama, and CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, every single mainstream media outlet that's not Fox News has been anti-Trump. So, if we're going to be fair here, yeah, you're right. Fox News did go after Obama a lot. You're right. But you know what's so funny? If you actually break down the coverage, Fox News was actually very, in the middle on a lot of its coverage. And by that, I mean negative stories versus positive stories. If you compare that to what's going on under this administration in the last 4 years, it's like 80-20 on these mainstream media sites. So don't talk to me about how the media is not biased and, CNN's great and all that. Shut up. You're clueless. You are completely clueless. All right. Jumping back over into YouTube. So again, it's 8:26 in the chat on YouTube. It means that I am indeed behind in the chat. Slicer Neon says, prepare for red tsunami in response to this year's unrest, and more unrest to follow if we don't bring the Mjolnir down. I wouldn't go that far. Again, when it comes to politics, I don't. Everyone loses, Slicer. Everyone loses, whether it's red or blue, Democrat, Republican. Everyone loses. There is no winner now. at this point. Really not. That's just my thought. Dean approved. I'm thinking of watching all of Woody Harrelson's movies. I've seen both Zombieland movies and Solo. What should I start with? He has one movie. I don't know his entire repertoire, but there is one movie that he was in that I have on Blu-ray, and I'm trying to. It's called. Oh, it starts with an R. Rampart. That's what it's called. Very good acting performance. Not the best movie. He's great in it though. Some people might say White Men Can't Jump because that's like one of the like older classic Woody Harrelson films, but I would say Rampart. Kigo Rogers, where are the couches? The kids can't sleep. I need dog yawns during the live stream. Kigo Rogers, I know, sadly, that is not the case. The dogs no longer have a place behind me. However, my plan is once webcams finally become available again, I'm waiting for the Logitechs to come back in stock. They haven't been because of lockdown, obviously. I'm going to set up one where it's going to be angled towards where the dogs normally are. It's going to be like a puppy cam. That way, at the very least, they can still be featured on the stream. Darth Morrill says, middle class lefties started protesting in London outside the U.S. Embassy. It's an embarrassment. London does not represent most Brits. It is infested with out-of-touch radical leftists. Yep. Zero Duality says, I said old houses. Oh, I'm sorry. Arthur Cook says, as someone who struggles with my faith, raised Christian, but now not too sure, how can you be sure that your Catholic faith beliefs are the right ones and everyone else's is wrong? If God is out there, why hasn't he performed any miracles lately or helped out of the situation? Well, he has. The problem is, people always say, I want a miracle. I demand a sign. But if you actually look to the words of Scripture, Christ says, no sign will be given except for the sign of Jonah, which was a symbol of the resurrection. So the sign has already been given. Whether that sign is enough for you or not is a matter of faith. But even then, there have actually been miracles pretty much every single year. Go ahead and look up to see the canonization process, because the way the church handles it is not simply if someone claims a miracle happened, oh, it's a miracle. They get scientists and skeptics to look at the information. And if science can explain how something happened, it's not a miracle. If they can't, if science cannot explain it, by definition, it is a miracle. It is a miraculous occurrence. And when it comes to the church too, guess what? If I prayed, let's say I had cancer, and I prayed to a saint, or someone that was not yet a saint, because that's, again, the process of canonization, someone who is not yet a saint. But I also prayed to Mary. I prayed for her intercession. I prayed to St. Peter. I prayed for the intercession of various saints. Obviously, God working through them, right, as intercessors. If I told that person and I was healed by it, that miracle would not be attributed, and could not be attributed because there is no knowing who could be, what saint was attributed to that healing from taking place. So it's a very, very complex system. And yet, miracles happen every single year. Again, look it up. The miracles are there. Just because it's not your miracle, just because it's not what you were expecting, guess what? If you wait around in life wanting God to hand you everything on a silver platter, it's not going to happen. We have free will for a reason. Slash Neon says, and also, I'm not going to touch the one about Catholicism because this is not an open forum. On open forums, I'll go more into theology talk, but tonight is not one of those nights. Slash Neon says, Sony of America posted All Lives Matter can't matter until Black Lives Matter. They must think the USA has apartheid. Dumbest takes. Yeah, seriously. It's just... it's so ridiculous. Mayor Jeremy says, hopefully it doesn't get skipped again, but an announcer for the Sacramento Kings basketball team said all lives matter and had to resign over it. It's so ridiculous. Again, if anyone gets angry over the phrase all lives matter, they're a part of the problem. Because if you deny fundamentally that all lives matter and all lives have value, Darth Morrill, it seems the media kept completely silent about Trump designating a certain group as terrorists. I wonder who. Yeah, I wonder why they didn't really cover Antifa being labeled as domestic terrorist. Rob D says, Odin, you have the space stone in your ring. Maybe. Forever Sci-Fi says, airplane love, Odin Mile High Club membership confirmed. No. That's just disgusting. To be perfectly, straight up, I think anyone that joins that club is disgusting. There's so much wrong with it. Nathan Slay says, do you not like Django Unchained? It's a fine movie. Not my favorite, though. Not my favorite. Zero Duality says, by the way, Inner Space yet? Michael is lying. I've not seen Inner Space yet. Tina says, I was rambling when I posted my recommendations. If you need a list, I'd be more than happy to make you one. If you wouldn't mind, it would make it a little easier. Because with my ADD, my mind's literally jumping. I'm like, wait, what? Christopher Miller says, Killer Bees and Murder Hornets. That's right. Glenzer says, in case you didn't know, Seattle's mayor said white men responsible for the violence and destruction of these protests. Oh, even though there's clear videos of people of multiple ethnic backgrounds destroying property and committing acts of violence. But, you know. Tina says, and I hope you didn't read my previous comment before. If so, apologies. But I said the media didn't get their mass shootings with Joker and millions of deaths with COVID and yes, so riots. Exactly. Yeah. Mirror Jeremy, if you read a double comment from me, I apologize. No, I don't think so. Hypernex13 says, I'm Muslim, but I love when you handle topics even from a Catholic perspective. There are some people who are just so full of hate, and the Son of God comment was hilarious. Well, Hypernex13, I'm glad that you appreciated it. Nathan Slay. Watch Home Alone and then watch Saw, and you'll see what kind of monster Kevin becomes when he's older. What? What? Matthew Witham, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says David Dorn, a real American. Who's David Dorn? Also, Darkside Droids, thank you for that $10 super chat earlier. I'm sorry it took me a while. He says, just showing my support for the channel. Hail Odin. Darkside Droids, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Rhaegar Targaryen says, Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin were in The Good Son. Guess which one is the bad son? I'm going to guess Macaulay Culkin because the mindset was watch this movie and then watch this movie. He's the hero in Home Alone. I imagine he'd have to be the villain in The Good Son. Darth Moral says, I hope to God people push legal action against Hollywood for funding rioters. Hashtag scum Hollywood. I agree too. Zion Water says, I had two friends tell me they could no longer nurture our friendship because all I do is troll their posts. Even though I like and comment on their posts and check in on them, they don't for me. Well, it sounds like those two are not worth being friends with. Hypernex13 says, random question. Sorry if this question is off topic. What is your most favorite wild animal of all time? It can be anything. I don't have one of all time at this current moment. Sloths. Just so funny. Tina says, I didn't think the world was going to end. I just got sick of white people saying, you must be so proud when Obama got elected. These racists assumed I voted for him because I'm black. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you know what? I bet the people protesting and rioting would say, there's nothing wrong with saying or asking that. Or if they did, they'd be like, oh, let me get on my knees and apologize. Oh, yeah, that's so, it's like, okay, yeah. Oh, you must be so proud. It's like, no. And here's the biggest problem with that entire thing, right? Is that if that's your mindset, you're a racist. Because in your mind, you think that someone should be happy simply because someone of a particular skin color got elected. But if we lived truly in a post-race society, if we lived in a world where a true equality reigned, all we would see is the person that got elected, the policies of that person, the personality of that person, because those are what's more important. I have a problem with the whole BLM movement because it basically tries to narrow down the value of a human life to the skin color of a person. And I've mentioned this several times on the channel beforehand. If you lessen yourself to things like skin color or orientation and ignore the vast puzzle that is you as a person, you're missing the picture, man. It's like taking one small piece out of a giant puzzle that is you and saying, this is what defines me. And that's crap. This is what defines you. Your personality, your mindset, your mind, your thoughts, your soul. Those are what make you you. Your skin color is just a very small part of what makes you you. And my problem with BLM and other groups like it are that they try and lessen you. They try and say, if you're not this, you don't have value or you have less value. And that's why I say all lives matter, because they do. Mayor Jeremy. Someone on Gary's Nooner said, this is sort of like near the end of the silent movie era. Once people heard them speak, they started to be done related to all the outspoken celebrities. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. The Shadow says, HBO Max Dune is the short one, only 2 hours, 17 minutes. Extended cut is almost 3 hours. I don't know how I could have access to the extended cut then. Christopher Mills says, Gary Johnson is a rectum, and I ought to know. I live in the state where he was governor. Oh, man. Wait, do you live near Kirky? The Kirk? I just finished watching season 5 of Better Call Saul, so I'm finally caught up on Better Call Saul. Gosh, it's such a great show. Zero Duality says, there is no logic, only zoo. Soul Assassin says, looking for logic, are ya? That went out the window last March. Yep. Certainly seems that way. Sasha Neon's, one thing we should all agree on in Trump's favor, he's prettier than Hillary. Hashtag truth over facts. Well, that's obvious. That's subjective opinion, but yeah. Gosh. Oh, Hillary. So many things can be said. I see someone else had to get timed out there. All right, so the chat jumped on me, but it looks like no comments were skipped this time. So please, if y'all could slow down just a little bit, just a wee bit, if y'all could slow down, I would appreciate that. Let me check up over on DLive, because we do need to start to try and wrap things up as soon as we can. Will Gentry says that kids' parents, I'd say they are bad in that they somehow let their child go astray and become Antifa, but are good for taking him in and making him face the music. Basically, I think that they need to pay more attention. Yeah, so to me, it sounds like they're human, that they make mistakes, right? And so I think that that is, a good example. So I hope that those parents look and say, where did we go wrong? How can we help him once all of this stuff, whatever the punishment is going to be? Again, if it's a kid, then it's likely going to be community service, things like that, probation, maybe some time in juvie at max, right, at most. And so I'm hoping that they're able to take that and say, all right, we need to change. We need to fix ourselves. And I think that and the reason why I believe that they can do that is because their first step to going in that direction was turning their son in and making him face the consequences. So I think they're on a good start, and I hope that it continues. Freak, thank you very much for following over on DLive. And let's see. All right, cool. Thank you. DLive, thank y'all for listening and calming down. I appreciate that. All right, back over to back over to YouTube now. Captain Jesus says, Odin, we all know Biden was sniffing hair and asking kids to rub his legs all those years. Oh, gosh. Those videos of him are so creepy, though. I was in the pool, and the kids, they would rub their hand on my leg and see it change in the sun. And then they'd sit on my lap, and I love them sitting on my lap. It's like, I don't think you meant it the way that you said it, but you also said it the way that I heard it. So, Sierra Production says, of course, race issues got worse under Obama because all the Democrats did was pander to identity politics. It's worse right now under Trump because of that. And again, I think, here's the thing, though. I do think that we have to, if we're going to be fair, say that Trump does hold responsibility in some capacity. Now, to what extent, I think we can debate. Same just like we can say, to what extent did Obama specifically fall into that? Or was it the media? Again, I think that if we're going to put the main crux of responsibility on anyone, it's the media in both scenarios, in both situations. But again, I think that there does need to be responsibilities, because at the end of the day, the buck does stop at the top, right? So we do have to put some sense of responsibility there. Sierra Production says, nothing would have changed if Hillary was president. Yeah. Things would not have gotten any better. Bruce says, context, believe all women. Yeah, like my ex-wife, that beautiful lying human being. Oh, man, that's right. That biz niche, Carol Baskin. Someone said dang to something I said. Christian Mill says, truth. There is truth and perceived truth. Yep. But there is only one truth. Forever Sci-Fi says, giant douche versus turd sandwich. South Park nailed it years ago. Oh, my. Yeah. South Park has been right on so many issues. Alex McCarthy says, Kingpin is a good Woody Harrelson. Fair point. Good point. All right. I see that. Looks like Joe's back in. Wow. Yeah, Joe, you've been hidden from the channel, and I have no idea if you're still watching or not. But when you call one of my Valkyrie, see you next Tuesday, get the hell out. Seriously. Nothing pisses me off more than when someone goes after one of my mods, one of my Valkyrie. Because I know how beautiful and amazing they are. I know how much they put up with my nonsense. So that's already miles and miles and miles of good going towards them for putting up with me. But they do this. Volunteer. They're in the chat every single night. They are taking care of things. They're keeping me on track. They do it volunteer. So for you to go after them, for you to go after Tina especially, and say that is disgusting. So Joe, go screw yourself. All right? If I didn't know that I was being watched by anyone who would be offended by the language, there are certain words that I would use for you, good sir. And actually, I take that back because good sir isn't good enough for you. All right. Gonna calm down. Send some love to Tina, everybody, because Tina does not deserve to be talked to like that. None of the mods deserve to be none of you deserve to be talked to like that. So send some love to Tina. All right. Bruce says, marriage is like an unfunny, tense version of Everybody Loves Raymond, but it doesn't last 22 minutes. It lasts forever. What? You quote there, but you don't tell me where it came from. Alice McCarthy says, Drunk won a Mario Kart race Sunday, a miracle. I saw that, man. I saw that. Glenn Howard says, my favorite Woody Harrelson film is Now You See Me. Is it really? Huh. Tina, yeah, I saw. No one, yep. Tina, y'all are totally in the right to have hit him. Zero Duality says, Odin will have an Only Beards page soon. No. Mayor Jeremy, I wonder if these riots would be as bad if the previous president was in office. Would we be calling them riots? Christopher Mills says, do you know how many white people have been shot dead by cops in the past few years compared to black people? I don't know, Christopher Mills. And I know that I've seen like like someone posted statistics recently, and it was like over a period of time, for every 4 that were white, 3 were black. And some people try and say, so it's actually very similar. But I do have to say, when you break down population size, what's it, 13% African American or black, and however they're defining it now, population versus, large majority Caucasian or mixed. So when you look to those, the numbers don't hold up nearly as much, right? Because you can put 4 against 3, but when you take into account the 13% versus the 60% or whatever, it's not nearly as equal. All right, so I will give that point because I do think it does need to be said. That all being said, how many riots happened when it happened to someone of a different race or background? That's right, it didn't happen. In fact, I would argue, when was the last time a riot happened for anything? It's been several months, right? So if this is a systemic problem that happens all the time, right? Because the mindset is, this happens all the time. And yet, there's so much space between it. So I'll go off on this point, right? Saying, therefore, it can't happen all the time, but I will say this. If it happens even once, that's one time too many. So basically, here's the mindset. Do we need to reform our system? Do we need to have higher standards for cops? Yes. All right. Let's do it. And if it still happens, okay. That's why we protest. That's why we have freedom of speech. That's why we can elect. Guys, we can vote. If the system's not going to change, we can change the system. We can change the direction. But guess what? It requires people to vote. You do realize that only, 40% of people that are registered to vote during major elections? Roughly? You realize how many millions of people don't vote? Not only on-year elections, but off-year elections. If everyone voted, you could make a huge change in your local community. The problem is that people don't. So again, there are ways and pathways that are there for us to help change things if things are truly unjust. You want to know the one way, though, that doesn't fix anything and makes things worse? Rioting. Zero Duality says, what about gingers and souls? Apologies to any gingers out there, of which I am part ginger. because I do have red beard. Also, I love seeing those T's and that love shown to Tina in the chat. Thank you for that. All right. Tina B says, I'm good, and apologies for me losing it over that SOB call me that, but I won't take it from a moron I don't know. Tina, don't take that from anybody. Period. Do not take that from anybody. And you should not have to put up with that. So I hope I made myself very clear about how I feel about that trash individual. Christopher Mills says, I live in Albuquerque. Do you know Saul Goodman? Dean Approved says, please tell me you're going to watch Battlestar 2004. Seriously awesome, dude. Is that a series or is that a movie? Captain Jesus says, Odin, it's okay to vote Trump. Come into our fold, brother. We got snacks and juice. What is this? Is this a cult now? Captain Jesus? All right. I got some super chats and donations to get to. The Shiado, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says maybe the parents were afraid he'd end up like the idiot that Molotoved himself at the museum. Karma is a B. Yeah. When I saw that, I was just like, again, you're right. Like, what goes around comes around. If you act like an ass, guess what? There's repercussions for those actions. Cause and effect, as one could say. But thank you for that super chat, the Shiado. And ZK Man, thank you very much for the $5 donation via Streamlabs. Says, this is a little something for Odin being the man he is. Keep being you. Captain K-Man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Christopher Mills says, Hillary Clinton, an American woman with a body count. Lydia Litvak had a kill count, and she is better. She is the better of the two. Lydia fought for the Russians during World War II. Yeah, again, It's fun. It's fun to joke. It's like kind of like the Carol Baskin thing. Like Carol Baskin, she killed her husband, right? But we don't real talk. We don't actually know, right? We can suspect and we can say that there's evidence, but we don't really know. With the Hillary Clinton thing too, it's like we joke about it, but do I honestly believe that she herself killed anybody or ordered anyone to be killed? Not necessarily. Now, is there a chance, more likely chance that people around her in the deep state did something? Maybe. That I would be more likely to believe. Super says, regarding the kid who got walked into the PD by his parents, it all depends on how old he is and where he learned it, because a lot of these kids are radicalized in college. It's a very good point, too, though. If the parents are walking him in, I imagine that he's probably not a college student. Captain Jesus says, did you hear Carol Baskin won Joe's former zoo? I did, and it's just sad, because I hope that I can't imagine that there's still tigers there. But I think the way that Tiger King ended was that the zoo was still being run by that con artist. And so Carol Baskin getting more tigers is not a good thing. So that makes me very, very sad. It makes me feel very bad for the animals. Tina says, sorry, in the background I heard you say send a list. I will. I was trying to get over that piece of dirt. Tina, no problem at all. Seriously. If you need to go for the night early, that's fine. There we go. Show that love for Tina. Yes. Amen. Super says, almost forgot 3 Billboards is a Woody Harrelson film too. That's a great one. Yes, I forgot about that too. 3 Billboards is an excellent film. ZK Man, who's a member on the channel, says, someone attacking the Valkyries. You got me to come over from D-Live to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Boom. You got people jumping from D-Live. That's what I'm talking about, man. Jens Jurgensen. Dude. Yes. I remember seeing you on Twitter, man. Thank you so much for being a part of that discussion. Jens Jurgensen, thank you for the super chat. Says, so did you cry when someone was offended by you calling yourself Odin? What a douche. I'm a Viking and I approve your use of my old god's name. By the way, did Deviant get eaten by his cats? So thank you for that super chat, man. I appreciate it. And so, yeah, Jens Jurgensen was a part of the conversation, too, with the guy that said I couldn't use the name Odin for the channel name. And at one point, he mentioned Deviant. He's the one that mentioned his cat being named Odin, and then showed a great picture. And so then they started going back and forth. And then the joke was like, "Oh no, you're offending the cat. You're gonna eat by the cat." Thanks, Jens. I appreciate it, man. All right. Bruce says, "I've been posting these all night. Funniest movie one-liners of all time. I've only tagged you in a few of them." Oh, nice, Bruce. That's awesome. Dean Approve says, I blame The Last Jedi for our race relation issues. God. We can blame The Last Jedi for a lot of things. I wouldn't go that far. That's about where I would stop. All right, let me try and catch up and finish on YouTube. Zero Duality says, when the Amish protest, there's a problem. Seriously. Mark Lazar, it is only a cult when they call everyone family. Ooh. Dean approved. Battlestar Galactica 2004 is a 4-season series. I want to say 15 to 20 episodes, each 45 to an hour. Is it on any streaming service? Hypernex13, speaking of Albuquerque, have you heard of the stories of people actually visiting the Walt family house in real life and throw a pizza on the roof like Walt did? The owner gets pissed. No. I'm surprised that person hasn't moved yet. Damn. Don't throw pizzas on people's houses, man. Oh, gosh. Forever Sci-Fi. I'm glad that not everyone votes. Many people can't be bothered to look up who they vote for and just choose a letter. Again, I think that's a fair point to be made. However, I think that still the main point still remains where, we can change things if we make the change happen. Captain Jesus says, Odin, we need a national voting holiday, so no excuses. Oh, lordy. Super Anime Gamer says, and the fact that they're rioting proves they don't want to change anything. They're exploiting a tragedy. In New York, they spray painted Eat the Rich. They're angry, violent kids. Yep. Hypernex13 says, and the chat, tigers are my favorite big cat. What's yours? Wagging tail sighted. Yes, the dogs are now in here. Dean Approved says, last time I checked, Battlestar was on Hulu. Okay, very cool. Interesting. All right, so I'm caught up on YouTube. Let me just try and catch up on DLive real quick since there aren't too many comments there. So Will Gentry says, okay, I got that one already. Will Gentry says that Star Wars that stat was per 10,000 populace for every 10,000 violent crimes incidents per race. 4 people got killed compared to 3. The one was per capita, not per overall comparative population numbers. But your point is a valid one. The kid whose parents walked him in is 20 years old, so he is a college kid. What? Damn. Your parents are walking you in at 20 years old? That's sad, Will. But thank you for that information. Also, thank you for clarifying the comment about people being killed. But yeah, I think that the point I made, I think is still a good one. But the one that you just countered, I think, is also a good one too, because it seems to try and even out, or rather, it tries to put it on an even playing field, right? It's hard to do it when you're talking about overall population sizes, percentage-wise, but when you say per 100,000 total, these are the number killed here, these are the number killed there, I do think that's also a fair point to be made, and it is something that we need to, again, I think that, regardless of, how we break those numbers down, the fact is that this does happen, that violence and in many cases, one could argue murder, right? Or third-degree murder, manslaughter, right? Happens to multiple races and multiple sides, but there's only one where there are these types of reactions, sadly, right? Again, I want change to happen. I want bad cops to be punished. I want good cops to be praised. And guess what? The vast majority of cops are good cops. I want the standards to be raised for what it means to be a cop. I want the very best of the best being the ones holding that weapon, protecting us, right? Defending our rights, protecting our values. I want that. And again, it's sad that I have to repeat myself, and I want the bad cops to be punished. The thing that, as I'm going to say it again, the thing that's been lost in all of this is that the cop responsible for putting the person in the situation, was his name George, in the situation for him to die, has been arrested, has been charged. Now, we still have to wait for the court case. We still have to wait for all the information. But guess what? That is why we have a justice system. Because it's not mob rule. Protesters, rioters, BLM, Antifa. This is not mob rule. Thank God we have a justice system where we are given a fair shot. And that's why the media needs to get the hell out of this business of convicting people before a trial has even taken place. You might have a video. That video might tell us a lot. But videos do not tell us everything. They can be cut. They can be edited. In some cases, they can be an entire case, but not always. Let's wait for the facts to come in. Let's wait for the trial to happen. And let's wait for justice to be served. And I think that justice should be served. And based on the fact that the guy's been arrested and charged, so far, things seem to be going that direction. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll see. When will your beard and Gary's beard duel to the deaths of zero duality? Hopefully soon. Super then says, now that we know for sure his age, if I were the kid's parents, I'd demand to know where he was introduced to anti-fun radicalism, do everything to share and jump down their throats. Super Anime Gamer, I would say if he learned it in college and they can find a connection between college professors or something that the college basically is allowing that type of mentality to persist, go after the college. If I were those parents, I would sue that university if they find out there's a connection between any of the professors or the environment that's being set up by them. Forever Sci-Fi says, when your humanity is so gone to ignore someone telling you that they can't breathe, you shouldn't be a cop. Yep, Forever Sci-Fi, exactly. Exactly right. And that's why he's arrested. And I'm hoping that, again, once a fair trial is put out there, if all the facts line up, and so far, based on what I've seen, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not a jury. I don't know what facts, I don't know what information can be brought up, but based on everything I know, seems like that guy at the very least should be found guilty. And if that does happen, he will be punished. That's justice. If you don't like it, as I said, don't riot, vote. Run for office. Do something constructive. Have conversations. At the very least, have conversations. We were able to have a few conversations tonight. So thank you for being here, everybody. And please, before you go, make sure you smash that like button. We still have over 100 people watching. One of the largest streams that we've had for a while. Obviously, I know there's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of things in everyone's mind. Everyone has a thought. Everyone has an opinion. So thank you for most of you being extremely respectful of each other in the comment section. Hopefully having a little fun, especially with the person going after me for calling myself Odin. Again, hopefully that was able to bring some levity to the situation. And also my plan is for the next stream on Saturday, the next night stream. Who knows if I'm going to stream during the week. Tina, Steph, don't freak out about it. But hopefully we'll be able to get a normal movie pop culture talk stream on Saturday. I don't plan to do anything else, but obviously if something truly insane or crazy happens and it's like something that I have to talk about, I will. But I don't foresee that happening, and I pray it doesn't happen. And I would say to everyone out there, we talked a little bit about faith tonight. Regardless of your faith background, prayer is a very powerful thing. Not because it changes the people around us, but because it changes us. Because we, in our daily interactions, can change people. Prayer is something that's very powerful. And again, it's not because if I pray for a donkey, I'm going to get a donkey. It's if I pray for change, I can be changed. And if I can be changed, others can be changed. All right. Movie night on Discord, Dion. I plan to do that this summer. Most likely movie nights or movie mornings. Most likely movie mornings will start sometime next week. So thank you all so much for being here. Sorry if I wasn't able to get to your last comments. Tina says, normal, nothing we ever do is normal. This is a good point. Normal does not really have a place here in Asgard. This is a true point. So my D-Laugh fam, thank y'all so much for your support and love tonight. My YouTube fam, thank you for your love and support tonight. And Tina and Steph, thank y'all so much for the work that you do. And again, this goes out to anyone watching. If you go after my Valkyries, they'll lay down the hammer on you. They don't need me. They're just fine on their own. But if I see it, I will call you out. And again, Joe, you're an idiot, and I'm praying that you go through a conversion. Because if not, there's a very special place and a very, very hot place for people that think the way that you do. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. I do have an updated June Patreon Subscribe Star list of people to shout out real quick, so please stay tuned for that. Show some support. And to everyone that donated tonight, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone that watched tonight. Thanks for being here. Please smash that like button on the way out. Hope that you enjoyed the show. Again, sorry it got a little bit real for a little bit. And Tina and Steph, make sure y'all are over in the Twitter chat. Can y'all please, both of you, send me, if you have one, I think you both do, maybe, your PayPal email address. Thank you. You guys are all amazing, beautiful people. Have a wonderful night. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And also to my Subscribe Star members: Edgardo Martinez, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod, the Beer Guru, and also Nebanon G. Adams and ZK Man. Thank you all so much for being a member of Patreon and Subscribe Star. And seriously, it really does mean a lot. Helps keeps the light on, helps me able to do things like the giveaways for my $5 and up backers on Patreon and Subscribe Star, and also be able to put more stuff into the actual channel itself, including upgrading different components, whether it be webcams, microphones, things like that. All of that helps to support it, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so very much. Please, if you want to have your name shouted out or look at any of the other perks, which include things like indeed having access to exclusive 4K digital giveaways every single month, and also an exclusive podcast hosted on Patreon, Subscribe Star, and also YouTube memberships as well at the $10 and up level, featuring John the Flick Pig Flickinger. Please check all of those things out in the description of this video. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.